Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey. Good to have you in on a Friday. Not as always. We're doing something new today. Alongside me, I have a good friend of mine, Phil Scher. How are you doing today, my man?
Doing all right, Nate. Happy to be here, man.
We got a lot to talk about. This is going to be a huge show. We're starting early today, 5:16. We normally start at 6:30. We got a lot to talk about. So how about we just jump right into it for old time's sake? So we normally don't talk about baseball a lot, but since I have you here, since you are a Yankees fan, I presume.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about some Yankees because they had a pretty disappointing season, to say the least. So the Yankees in December 6th traded for Juan Soto, big acquisition to help with Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge, Anthony Rizzo. They got a bunch of free agent acquisitions, Carlos Rodon as well. Massive contract. Gerrit Cole just won the Cy Young. This team should have been good, and last season it fell right flat on its face, battling the Red Sox for the worst AL East record last season. So I want to know, just what's your overall expectations heading into the 2024 MLB season?
I'm expecting a winning team, man, to be honest with you. Last season, if we flipped it around 180 days, 365 days, the Yankees, they're coming off first place in the East. They signed Carlos Rodon to a 6-year, $162 million deal. And to be honest with you, like that guy, we were expecting him to be a key contributor, right? Back up Gerrit Cole and really reinforce the rotation and make the Yankees have another competitive season. And obviously that didn't pan out, but the team played well the season before this year, and this year was really disappointing. So we had Anthony Volpe. He was our upcoming prospect. We had a lot high expectations for the kid, and he delivered. So we had him as momentum. Judge got hurt, kind of sucked. But if I'm being honest with you, man, I'm expecting a winning team.
You're expecting someone, and that's the thing, right? The Yankees normally have so much talent because they are one of the richest franchises. I'm surprised they weren't really deep into the stakes for Yamamoto. That's something I was surprised about. Rodon, they have two aces.
Yeah.
You could have gotten Yamamoto, who is an insane talent. He just made $325 million with the Dodgers. However, I'll say this. For two reasons, I don't understand why. You're keeping Aaron Boone. You're also keeping Cashman. Cashman, I don't know. He's made a couple good pickups.
Mm-hmm. He's been here for a while.
And Aaron Boone, I don't know why the hell he's still the manager. No idea why.
Yeah.
Disappointment after he might be the first coach, right? Because you had Joe Torre won a World Series, won a couple World Series.
Yes.
And you got what's the name? But Giardi, he won one as well.
World Series, and he was a player for the Yankees. He was a catcher. Won the '98 World Series and a few more with the Yankees.
So now you may have a manager now that breaks the streak of becoming the manager and winning a pennant. Because the Yankees are not going. This team.
You don't think they're going anywhere?
They started off as hot as could be. Then the Rays had their incredible, unlosable streak there. The Yankees started to fall apart. And then back half of the season, they went 33-38 after the All-Star break. Completely fell apart. Now, that could be Judge. He made a great play, but he broke his toe or something like that?
Broke his toe into the Dodgers wall, and then a couple weeks after that, they put up the cushion there.
Yeah, so after that, Judge was your guy last year. They were literally just begging for him to keep hitting home runs, which he did. Broke the AL record.
Gave him a good contract.
It gave him a beautiful contract.
Yep.
Then this season, you're hoping for the same thing. Not so much.
Yeah, they were kind of banking on only Judge. I'll agree with you there.
Yeah.
But they have a good team, man. Cashman, he's been here 20 years. He was hired as an intern, believe it or not, a security intern, and worked his way up. And he's been a great general manager. I'm on the side of the Yankee fans where he's my guy.
Okay.
I don't want him going anywhere. I think he's a top 5 GM in the league, and I want him on my team. Right. Aaron Boone, I think he got me there. I'm middle ground with him there. But we brought up Joe Torre. Joe Torre, before he was the manager of the Yankees, he was considered a terrible manager. He didn't win anything as a player. As a coach, he didn't win anything before he came to the Yankees. And once he came here, obviously he had a great team. He had Paul O'Neill, Jeter, Posada, Andy Pettitte, David Wells. List goes on and on. But I think that the point there is that you got to give Aaron Boone some time here.
Okay.
Right? He's been here, 4 or 5 years now. He's the prospects that the Yankees had growing in the minor leagues are finally coming up. Jason Dominguez. I think with the addition of Juan Soto, it gives him a lot of room to grow. Right. The pressure's off him. He's coming back from an injury. He can work his way back. I wouldn't be surprised if he's hitting top 4 in the lineup.
Okay.
All right. So, and then, Anthony Volpe.
Volpe's a good one. Volpe's, I would say he's interesting.
He won the Gold Glove.
Yeah. So, Aaron Boone's first 2 seasons, I'll give you this. He won over 100 games and 103 his first 2.
Okay.
And then after that, it was just... No, my problem is regular season, the Yankees, except for last season, after the All-Star break, they were terrible. But he's made it to the playoffs every single season besides last season. But in the playoffs... Now people are going to argue about the Astros cheating.
Yes.
It was in 2017.
2017.
Right. And that, no one could
That was
really
with Joe
argue.
Girardi.
Right. But that one, no one could argue, right? Mm-hmm. Then you go into later years, where in the playoffs, Judge isn't hitting home runs, strikeouts, bad defense, pitch. Garrett Cole, again, here's the thing. Garrett Cole against the Red Sox. Rafael Devers is his kryptonite. Rafael Devers is Cole's kryptonite. He comes in, there's no stopping him, basically. Now, people are going to pinpoint, but this game. Just over the course of time, you take a look at Garrett Cole, by the way, won a Cy Young. He very well deserves it, because he was really the only superstar in that team last season.
I mean, ace of aces,
right.
if we're being honest.
Right.
He's best pitcher in the league, in my opinion.
Right. So, he's the only shining star last season. He's the only thing you'd have hope in. And then, you got Matt Carpenter not this past season, but the season before. That was a gem. It was what, 307 in batting average?
I think it was higher than that. He had a ton of home runs too.
Right.
I mean, that goes to show how big of an impact Soto might have. Lefty batter, right?
Right.
Obviously, the stadium plays for him.
Right.
Short porch there, and yeah.
Well, let's look at last season, because the Yankees,
Okay.
I want to emphasize, the offense was terrible. It was Judge or nothing.
And
So,
he was hurt half the season.
Look at this. Runs per game, 25th. Hits, 29th. RBIs, 25th. The home runs was
Home
the only
runs,
thing.
9th, yeah.
That's the only thing, because you have literally power hitters or strikeouts. That's all it is. Giancarlo Stanton, injuries and just disappointments. You come off the Marlins, he started off great, and then just injury after injury.
He was coming off that MVP season.
Right.
I think he hit about 270, 30 homers, 100 RBIs.
Right.
I think it was because the pitchers didn't know how to attack Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge in the same lineup, kind of back to back. But this past season you have
29th in batting average.
Yeah.
Second to last.
Volpe hit 210.
Right.
Expecting him to
Kiner Falefa. What do you think of him?
He went to the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah, what do you think of him?
I loved him.
You loved him.
I loved him. I thought he was great utility player. He pitched a couple games when we were getting blown out, but I think that great utility player, great pickup for the Blue Jays.
Right.
I think he's really passing the torch to Oswaldo Cabrera.
Okay.
In the utility player field for the Yankees. He can play infield, outfield. He swings a good bat. From him, he's on a different level than Volpe and Dominguez for sure.
Okay.
We're expecting, as a Yankee fan, I'm expecting him to contribute when he can.
Okay.
Not really when he needs to, when he has to, when he can, and play the positions we need him to play. Because we got a star-studded outfield. Jason Dominguez, Soto, Judge, we've been over this. And then the infield, that's where it gets dicey. So expecting him to contribute towards a winning team this year.
I want to talk about Rodon now.
Let's talk about Rodon.
Should have been. I mean, you talk about going into the season, right? Yeah. You get him. You signed to a massive contract.
He was known as the most competitive player in baseball.
Right. You put him right next to Garrett Cole. This is going to be a 1-2. There's thunder and lightning.
Yeah.
But there's a caveat to him. His injury history is not pretty whatsoever.
Injury history is tough.
He's been fully healthy in only 2 seasons. He started playing in 2015 and to now. 2017, arthroscopic shoulder surgery. Then he had Tommy John surgery in 2021, he had shoulder fatigue that took him out. And then this past season missed more than half the season with a left forearm strain, which he actually injured in 2022 with the Giants, but he played basically the entire season.
He was playing for a contract.
Right. So he had to play through that injury. It didn't cost him any time. So
it cost him time in the Yankees pretty much.
Yeah. Right, yeah, and that's unfortunate for you guys. But the Giants, they tried to basically squeeze everything they could out of Rodon. But then if you take a look,
they had that playoff run there.
This trade, we'll talk about once I'll lay it. But what do you think Rodon? Because I assume going into the season, if right now it seems like he's healthy to play.
Mm-hmm. What are my expectations?
What do you think he brings to the Yankees pitching and Do you think players fear him to this day?
Oh yeah,
Opponent batters. Yeah.
I think if you, facing a lefty on lefties in Yankee Stadium, that's why they signed him.
Right.
Signed him to be an Andy Pettitte-esque player, backup Garrett Cole, and we're not asking him to do a lot. Garrett Cole's our ace. He's the guy. Be our number 2. Be our 3.5 ERA guy. Pitch 6 innings every 5 days. 5-6 innings. That's what we're looking for. And that's what I think we're going to get out of him. I can see Rodon having 3.5 ERA, and hopefully he can pitch north of 150 innings this year, which really isn't asking a lot. But I think that with a guy like Garrett Cole and Nestor Cortez, I think he's been consistent. He's been consistent for the Yankees. Clark Schmidt panning out to be a solid player, solid pitcher. All right. So out of Rodon, we signed him to this deal. We know about his injury history,
right?
And we know that he is, he's coming off a really good season. He's had some time to heal now. Hopefully he's rehabbing well. I can see, like I said, I could see him having a 3.5 ERA year and contributing towards, once again, a winning team.
So basically, your prediction is he halves his ERA from last season. He had a 6.85 ERA.
Coming off an injury.
Right.
He wasn't into it. I mean, the New York fans.
You let him pitch 11. You let him, he went 3-8. 11 games where he got credit for.
Yeah.
I mean, coming off, he was 14-8 with the prior year with the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Playing through an injury. Now he actually loses games. He misses games due to that injury. You come back. I mean, you talk about Nestor Cortez. He got hurt too. He was a. It's crazy. He was all of a sudden this was he like a reliever that he comes in starts.
Role pitcher.
And then he's really good.
Really good.
And then he falls through. He gets hurt. He has to miss games. That's unfortunate. He also had a perfect game this season, although
Domingo Germán.
Right, and I'll just say this: it's against the Athletics, the worst team in baseball.
This is true.
But you got a perfect game, so I can't hate on that.
Yeah, it was one of our highs of the season.
Right,
absolutely.
So,
as a Red Sox fan, do you fear the Yankees rotation?
Well, here's the problem, right?
How about this? Before you get to your point,
go for it.
If Rodon, Nestor Cortez, Clark Schmidt, and Garrett Cole, all pitch to within the realm of their expectations, right? Okay. So they're playing up to par.
Gotcha.
Right? Are you fearful of the Yankees rotation?
I'm gonna say no, and no, because I know, looking at how the Red Sox roster is built, nobody fears them, and so the Red Sox aren't that talented. They got rid of Verdugo, who I believe you guys have now. I mean, the Red Sox got nobody. They don't spend money. They don't get anybody. You let Xander Bogaerts go. He had a down year this past season, but you let him go. It seems like you sent Yamamoto a contract. There was reports that you sent him a contract, or at least gave him some sort of offer. You clearly didn't pay him enough. $325 million.
It was the highest average annual value, though. 9 years, 300.
Right.
We didn't give him the years. I think he always wanted to go to the Dodgers.
And the Dodgers, they spent $1 billion already.
Yeah.
And we're in December, about to enter January.
Traded for Glass now, signed him to that monster deal too.
And was it Margot from the
Rays? Yeah.
This season, I don't know if I can watch baseball, strictly because if you're up against the Dodgers, Ohtani, you got Betts, you got Freeman, you got Yamamoto pitching. Now, Kershaw, they got to figure out whether or not they're going to bring him back. He choked in the playoffs. Horrible that last performance. Mm-hmm. But it's not fun if you're playing the Dodgers because you expect them to just completely crush you because they have talent everywhere. Now, if Shohei can't pitch this season, if he was pitching, that'd be lights out.
Yeah, lights out.
You would essentially have an ace, and on maybe if you start 6, maybe all of your 6, at least your top 3, I would say. So there's nothing you could do about that. But for me, no, I wouldn't fear the Yankees because I don't fear the Red Sox. The Red Sox got nobody. Basically, it's Devers who had a down year this season.
So you think the Yankees and the Red Sox are on the same level right now?
I think right now the Yankees are a little bit ahead of the Red Sox. Okay. I mean, they were both pushing for the last in the AL East. Those
I think that's
biggest
fair.
Disappointments. But one of the things I'm most disappointed in is that rivalry. It's a historic rivalry. That's basically
you turn
dead.
It back 3-4 years. It was the best. We had that playoff, the wild card.
Yeah,
that was beautiful to watch.
Garrett Cole started that.
Yeah, very true. He got did he get shelled that game?
Oh yeah, I think Devers had
Devers. Yeah, Devers. That his.
I told you, Devers is Cole's kryptonite. So
kryptonite.
No, the rivalry is not there. I forgot. Nestor Cortez might have said it last season. where he's like, yeah, the rivalry is nowhere near where it used to be. And I completely agree with that.
No.
Because they don't have the talent. You don't have a Mariano Rivera coming in to close.
You gotta have the Yankees and Red Sox. They're known as like, monster marketplaces for baseball.
Right.
Giving the biggest contracts.
Yeah.
We don't have that this year.
Absolutely not.
Which is obviously heart-wrenching, but it's going to come back. The one thing I would say about the Dodgers, though, in their situation, right? 1 year ago, Padres signed Blake Snell.
Yep. I was talking about this.
Or they get Juan Soto in that trade, the midseason trade, but he's playing for them.
Right.
And Xander Bogaerts.
Right. You also had Tatis, too.
Tatis, Manny Machado.
Yeah.
The list goes on. Jake Cronenworth, he's pretty good. But Josh Hader.
Yep.
Super team.
I thought so as well.
Me too.
I had them winning the division.
Absolutely. I think they were supposed to beat out the Dodgers.
Absolutely. And they were early on. It was the Diamondbacks and Padres that were doing well, then they fell through. The Dodgers, Diamondbacks.
Was that due to injuries?
No,
right? I don't think anyone got hurt.
No, Xander Bogaerts was down. Juan Soto wasn't playing well. Tatis was suspended for the first 50-something games.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, because of the PEDs.
But they were still playing well without.
They were doing okay early on in the season, right? And then they completely fell through. And I thought when I heard the you can go down the list of players that they had. The Padres, can they win 115 games? And then they completely fell apart.
Absolutely. And I think that brings up the same question.
Right. And I had the same question as well. Can the Dodgers maintain this status quo of, okay, Mookie Betts is this player. In 2024, can he still be that player? Freddie Freeman, MVP candidate. Yep. Shohei Ohtani, unanimously, I think we can say he's the best player in baseball right now. Without a question.
Yeah.
Without a question.
I agree. Best hitter, no. Best pitcher, no. But best player.
Overall player, yes. Yep. We're talking about like the next Babe Ruth. And I know that's crazy to talk about right now.
Yeah.
But I think he's a better pitcher right now than Babe Ruth was. He has the same sort of consistent power I think Babe Ruth has, not to the level of he's hitting 60 home runs a year.
Well, Babe Ruth, he played in a 295-foot fence ballpark. So.
Okay, fair. But there's players everywhere. If they can maintain that, why can't they break the record? They should be able to.
They should be able to. But like you said, we were expecting the San Diego Padres to play, to win 110 games. Right, with that team.
Yeah.
I don't think super teams work in baseball. I think you got to have a bunch of guys who know their roles and know each other respectively, and you got to have a good manager.
Right.
Dave Roberts doesn't win the playoffs. He won the Mickey Mouse World Series. I mean, I really don't think that the direction they're headed in is lined up with everybody's expectations.
Okay. Because I like Dave Roberts
he's a winning manager.
He also stole the base in the 2004 ALCS against the Yankees. That's why you gotta like him. But it wouldn't really surprise me because we just had an example of a super team completely fall flat.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me that much if the Dodgers go out and win maybe 95 games. Because I think that would be low for a team of this caliber.
It would be low, but that's also a really good season.
Right. No, it's a really good season for basically any other team. But with the team that you have, basically no misses, and you have Shohei Ohtani on essentially a 10-year, $20 million deal. Why can't you? You should be able to win triple digits.
Yeah, you should. Absolutely.
And if you don't, I think that's a disappointment.
But there's also a lot
of playoff thing as well.
There's also a lot of what ifs with that team.
Right.
You have what if Shohei Ohtani pans out. Right. I mean, he's going to pan out.
Should.
Yeah, he should. But as a pitcher, can he continue what he's doing? Yamamoto, can he pitch in the MLB?
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Right. We'll see. Tyler Glasnow, can he stay healthy? Another injury-riddled guy. Right. Constant arm injuries.
Right.
So, I mean, it's another what-if type of deal, similar to the Yankees pitching rotation right now. But I think that the Dodgers shouldn't be feared as much as they're being feared. For sure.
But would you consider them the best team in baseball?
On paper, yeah.
On paper?
On paper, absolutely.
Okay. Now, I want to get back to the Yankees.
Okay.
Yankees fan? Your
Big Yankees fan.
Your outlook is, I assume, very bright.
Very bright. I see them winning 93-plus games.
93-plus games. Are they the best team in the AL? And I'll expand a little bit farther. Outside of the Dodgers, are they number 2? Now, I know the Rangers just won the World Series and the Diamondbacks were in it with them.
As a fan, as a Yankee fan, 21 years old now, 21 years of Yankee fandom.
Right.
I want to say yes. I want to say they're going to win 98 games. They're going to win the AL East.
Well, if you're a Yankees fan, you say, let's go win the World Series.
Let's go win the World Series. Absolutely, man. But
Realistically,
it's the Astros, bro.
you fear the Astros. I don't. Even I know the Red Sox are terrible. I don't fear them. I really don't.
How can you not? They've been the AL. They've been the American League for the past 5-6 years now.
Right.
They've ran it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll say this. The Astros are a team that when they ride high, they are they're extremely dominant. But when they're low, and I'm sure Dusty Baker, didn't he just retire as well?
Yeah.
So they're getting a new manager. We don't know exactly what it'll look like. They have a lot of players. They got Jose Abreu. Somehow he went to the Astros. I could understand why. But you have a lot of talent. We got to see what this new manager does. Because I've seen, as a Red Sox fan, I've seen exactly what poor management decisions does for a team. You bring up players that aren't that great. Then you keep them in for too long.
Do you know where AJ Hinch is?
What?
AJ Hinch? Do you know where he is?
Yeah. Do I know where he is? I'll look it up for you. So, for me, as a Red Sox fan, I've seen Alex Cora bring up players that aren't that great. I've seen him keep pitchers in for way too long. So, for me, if the manager knows what he's doing, by all means, perfect. AJ Hinch is right now, according to this, the Tigers.
All right. I mean, with a return of an AJ Hinch level manager, making the right decisions, I think, they're the best team in the American League at the beginning of the season. All right. You figure out some of these what ifs with the Yankees. Can Dominguez get healthy and play the way he was playing when he came up originally?
Right.
Can Volpe take a step up? Can Judge stay healthy? Can Stanton do something? And then can Anthony Rizzo contribute?
Right.
And if those what ifs solve themselves, most of them say, most of the lineup, top to bottom, is productive. I think that as time goes on, September, October, I could totally see the Yankees being a number one team in the league for sure. Passing the Dodgers, passing the Braves, passing the Astros. Absolutely.
Wow. Okay, well, I want to talk about this guy because he had a down year, but I would say I wouldn't say it's a hot take, but I think he's one of the best hitters in baseball. I'm not saying he's top. Juan Soto, because this is him last season. Batting average 275, 156 hits, 109 RBIs. He had a career high in home runs last season. 410 on base percentage. He had a 519 slugging percentage. 129 strikeouts. I always include the strikeouts.
Strikeouts are a big stat nowadays.
Yeah, it is, because you don't want was it Chris Davis back then on the Orioles, where it was a home run or a strikeout. Curtis Granderson, he was basically a walking strikeout as well.
Good Yankee though.
Once again,
good player
walking strikeout though. Defense was pretty good, and early on in his career,
he
was
home
pretty
runs.
good. Walking strikeout too though.
Big strikeout guy.
He is that home runner strikeout guy.
Mm-hmm.
Juan Soto had a slight down year, but once again, it was the expectations. Now
he had to win over a fan base.
Now he goes from the Padres, who it's San Diego, don't have a massive market. You go to the Yankees, who are one of the premier teams in baseball.
Yeah.
Do you think the lights will be a little too bright?
In all of sports.
Little too bright. Do you think Juan Soto will feel the New York pressure in the historic, well, this is the third rendition of Yankee Stadium, but the historic Yankee Stadium and the historic Yankee fan base?
I believe in Soto, man. I believe in Soto. I think he's made for New York. He's made for this stadium.
Okay.
He's going to hit 35-plus homers.
So match his career high and break it.
Potentially. Break it.
Wow.
Break it, Nate.
Wow, okay.
He's going to break it.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
With Judge. That 2-3.
You better hope Judge stays healthy, doesn't bang into any more
hopefully
walls.
he doesn't run into a wall. Yeah, God forbid.
So you're saying, my expectation for you would be Yankees top of the AL East?
Yankees top of the AL East by the end of the season, absolutely.
Triple digits in the win column, or because last season you only had two teams, and that was the Dodgers and the Braves.
I'm gonna say no on the triple digits.
How close? 91.
I could definitely see them winning 97, 98 games.
97, so very close.
Very close with the expectation that these what ifs are going to solve themselves. Yeah, 98.
Right. With the talent, with the fact that you're getting people healthy again, I'd say you guys win 94 games and you do win the AL East. So I'm close to you. The Red Sox are going to be dead last.
Yeah.
Dead last.
No future for the Red Sox?
as of right now with Alex Cora as the manager.
Yeah.
New GM, so it should be interesting. But we're not making any moves. Not making any moves.
We got Jeter Downs for you.
Yeah, I saw his first career home run. Actually, it was in Yankee Stadium. Yeah. I was at that game. It was the one that Chris Sale broke his pinky on.
Was that when he returned from the?
He came back.
Injury,
I believe that might have been his first game back against the Yankees. Come back and right into his pinky finger.
What inning was that? Do you remember?
It was, I think, the second or third
inning. Yeah, I think
inning.
it was in the beginning of the game.
Jeter Downs late in the game hit a home run. I saw his first career home run.
Nice.
So Chris Sale's a whole nother thing. Oh, sorry, 3 teams broke 100 wins. I should have said that. The Dodgers, Braves, and Orioles. I should have said that. But yeah, Chris Sale.
Speaking of the Orioles, man,
massive disappointment. What's up?
Big step up this year for the Orioles.
Big step up from 101 wins?
No. Playoff wise. I'm sorry.
Well, here's the crazy thing.
You can't really get better than 101.
I would consider myself a casual in baseball. I'm not a huge fanatic. I enjoy the sport of baseball. And so just as a joke and to represent the AL East, I had the Orioles winning the World Series this past season. And then I went with my
Going
heart.
into the season?
No. As soon as right before the playoffs started.
Okay.
I said the Orioles would win. And that fell through right in the first round. And then after that, because I went with more of my head than my heart, and then after the first round, I was like, Diamondbacks could do this. Turns out they almost did. Almost.
You didn't have the Phillies?
Not of the Phillies. Because for the second year in a row, they choked. Same as the Braves.
They made it to the World Series the year before.
Oh, yeah, you're right. My bad. I was more thinking the Braves. Again, the Braves, 104, they look impossible to stop.
Yeah, it's
Acuna's
crazy.
It's
crazy the playoff format nowadays, man.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you see these like the Dodgers, the Orioles, like you said, the Braves. These 100-win teams not getting anywhere in the playoffs, really.
Yeah.
You know, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see where this is going to go, but
the Yankees. You have a lot of faith in them.
A lot of faith in them. I don't.
When it hits playoff time,
I
lose all confidence. I do, at least, because I have no faith in them. No faith. They haven't made the World Series since 2009.
Yeah, it's going to change someday, though. I think they're getting better. I think that they're definitely going to see more success in the playoffs. I think the Orioles are a really good team, really hard to beat in the regular season for sure.
Right.
Their closer, Felix Bautista, he's hurt. I'm not sure when he returns this year or if he's going to return this year. But I think that, yeah, they'll be a good playoff team, the Yankees.
All right, let's move into our next topic here. So we're going to talk about Russell Wilson. So we had some breaking news earlier on in this week. So Russell Wilson is about to get benched. He is benched for the final 2 games of the season. Sean Payton talked about the move from Russell Wilson to Jarrett Stidham, and this is what he had to say. Let's take a listen.
Look, we're desperately trying to win. I can't replace the entire offensive line. I can't bring in 5 new receivers, and if it continues over a period of time, then there'll be another guy here talking to you as well. This is something that, these are difficult decisions. And obviously there's more attention when it's the quarterback who's under contract, but different than maybe, earlier decisions we've made with maybe last year's prior starters.
So I want to know what your reaction was to Sean Payton deciding Russ ain't our guy anymore. What's your opinion on this whole situation with Russell Wilson?
I think Russell Wilson, system quarterback.
Okay.
Sean Payton's a fake coach. That's what I got to say.
Really?
I think Drew Brees ran that team on the Saints. Yeah. Sean Payton, he doesn't bring much value to the Broncos, I think. I think that they had the wrong hire there. With a better coach, a better coaching system, I think Russell Wilson could return to his stardom QB rating. And I think that not necessarily the best move, but not the worst move either, putting him on the bench in their position.
I'll say this. I had an argument a little while ago about how I thought Russell Wilson does not deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. I said, if you take a look at the Seahawks, right, the numbers were great, but dig just a tiny bit deeper. Always had a top 5, top 10 defense, always had a top 5 or top 10 running game. The passing game was always in like average or sometimes very below average, even in Russ's prime. And I think it took a turn when this phrase, when the Seahawks weren't that great of a team, Legion of Boom was over, Marshawn Lynch was either off the team or not playing as well when he was still on the Seahawks. It was the let Russ cook era. And that's sort of where he became terrible. And you sent him over to the Broncos last season, and he plays horrible. So much so that I said right after that season, before even Sean Payton was announced the head coach, I said this is more of a trend. It won't be one single blip where, all of a sudden next season, if they get the right head coach, in this case it would be Sean Payton, how, oh my God, there's prime Russ again. Or, damn, that's 75% of what I saw when he was winning Super Bowls. And we've seen it this season where he's been better, but he still hasn't been that great. He's more so playing not to lose than playing to win. You see it sometimes on the field, and people have talked about this, and analysts have discussed this, where there's throws to be made that he's missing. Wide open throws. So you send over to Jarrett Stidham now, who he's now in this position, twice. Derek Carr last season, where it was the exact same thing, bench him for 2 games, and then this season, he's in the same position, and they spent a bunch of money for a backup quarterback. And I'll say this for the situation. I respect what the organization of the Raiders did last season, where when they benched Derek Carr, they sent him away. Don't suit up, just we're going to part ways. Sean Payton's making Russ still suit up and be the backup quarterback. So that's where it gets a little bit maybe demoralizing or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, Derek Carr's not a great quarterback. We found that out this year, I think.
Yeah, and I'll admit I was a prisoner of the moment. The Raiders were just a bad franchise, a complete mess ever since he started. This season, he had a better defense, a better offensive line.
What do you think of Pierce as their head coach?
I think he should be the head coach moving forward.
Keep him there?
Absolutely.
Me
Mark Davis made the mistake a couple seasons ago with Rich Bisaccia, where the players played for him, they made the playoffs with him, and then at the end of the season, they decided to sign Josh McDaniels and basically make the Las Vegas Patriots. You brought in the fullback, you brought in Jacoby Myers, Jimmy Garoppolo as your quarterback, you brought in Brandon Bolin as a backup running back for you. Don't make that same mistake again, because it literally was a cataclysmic failure. Josh McDaniels was a horrible head coach, which the proof was already out there when he was with the Broncos. And then you bring him in, and it's just a complete mess, as expected. This time you have a coach who's performed pretty well. He just beat the Kansas City Chiefs. So, one thing though, you really think Drew Brees made Sean Payton?
Oh man, absolutely.
Why? Sean Payton's one of the best offensive coaches maybe in NFL history.
If he was one of the best offensive coaches in NFL history, he would have found a way to win with Russell Wilson.
So you're saying it's more the coach couldn't get to him than it was, Russell Wilson just a bad player.
Yeah.
I think Russ is just a bad player right
now. You think Russ is a bad player? Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Super Bowl winning quarterback that like I said, if you take a look at the numbers, he had a top 3 or top 5 run game because he had Marshawn Lynch, who was basically untackleable. And then you had the Legion of Boom, arguably the best defense. I would say the best defensive era, arguably in football. You could talk about the early Ravens and the Bears, and even last year's Eagles had a phenomenal run, at least with sacks. But I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. And these last 2 years, we talk about how maybe Brady's last season with the Bucs, he played terrible. That doesn't affect him. You look at Peyton Manning's last couple of seasons. Wasn't that great. This, I think, because I still think he has a career. Someone's going to pick him up. I don't know who it is. I'm sure eventually I'll talk about it.
The New York Jets?
Could be they got Rodgers, though. You don't want a 45 and a 35. But I'll say this. These years matter because he's not ending his career here. He's going to keep playing. I don't know for how long, but he's going to keep playing. He's only 35 years old. So if he keeps playing, if he keeps putting up these dud performances with different teams, who's saying that it shouldn't affect how we think of him? Because right now, for me, he was very, very close. He was a fringe Hall of Fame player. Last season happened, and this is generally how it goes. At first, the coach goes. The coach gets fired. Then it's the player gets released or traded or whatever the case may be. We've seen it a couple times. The most recent one would be now Russell Wilson. I think Kyler Murray may be on that same path. They got rid of Cliff Kingsbury. Kyler Murray may be the next one to go. And I think we could see with the Bears this season. Matt Eberflus, I think, goes. Then they maybe draft Marvin Harrison. Then you have Justin Fields, Marvin Harrison, and
so you're
DJ
still building
Moore.
around Justin Fields if you're the Bears.
I would say yes. He's shown enough growth this season with an actual wide receiver. I would say you get a new coach. But if then Justin Fields fails in that first year or the second year, then he'd be the one. It's the coach, then it's the coach, then the player.
Yeah, they got some good draft picks too.
Yeah, exactly.
They
got the
10s.
Panthers pick, and the Panthers were terrible. And then they have their own pick, which I believe is a top 10 pick as well. So for me, Russell Wilson, the past 2 seasons have been. This season was better. Not good. He's ran a little bit more, but we see against the Jets, fumbling the game away, couldn't make the big play. He's playing, in my vision, he's playing more not to lose than it is making the big play to win.
Playing scared.
And also, we've heard Sean Payton talk about several times. Let's simplify the playbook. Let's wristband the playbook for him. Try to create a simpler offense. With a star quarterback, I don't know if that's something it's not a good image. And maybe with the way Sean Payton's doing it, he called out the Nathaniel Hackett, previous coach. For me, I say this is more Russ. I think it's interesting. They spent a bunch of money. I don't think this would ever work out just because you spent so much money getting Jarrett Stidham. So, for me, I'm surprised that he got benched, but I thought eventually because of the contract situation, $37 million in guaranteed money if he couldn't pass physical by March. It's the same thing for Derek Carr. We've seen a number of players recently get benched or whatever the case may be because of this injury guarantee. I'm a little bit surprised, but I thought it probably would never work just because personalities they don't mix very well.
Yeah, it's really interesting that that Russell Wilson wasn't able to pan himself out or to play up to where he was playing on the Broncos, because I think that Russell Wilson and Drew Brees, similar play type at quarterback, similar body stature. They're, and I think, yeah. So Russell Wilson, he doesn't have the dog that Drew Brees had in him. You as a kid watching those Drew Brees games, as a Giant fan, miserable. The guy used to beat us up. But I think that, yeah, Russell Wilson might not have the same quarterback tenure and the same career that Drew Brees had. But it's really interesting to see that it wasn't able to work out between the Broncos and Russell Wilson.
Right. So I don't know what team signs him. The Patriots may draft a quarterback. They may go out and get Russ because maybe he's the last piece or whatever to get a mature quarterback because Belichick may be on out there. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But personalities, man. Mr. Unlimited, as he called himself.
Yeah, didn't he get an office
He had his
space?
own office that Sean Payton came and said, we're not doing that. We're not doing that office thing. He brought in a bunch of people. He had his own, personnel around him, his own, group or whatever. It doesn't show you're with the team. And that's a bad image. And I think Sean Payton coming in there and fixing that is good for at least the culture of the team. Now, when they get a new quarterback, if they drafted whoever that is, if he isn't that great or he can't develop properly, then we can get into discussion of Drew Brees was a great quarterback for him. Were they sort of the Tom Brady Belichick matchup where it's like Drew Brees and Sean Payton worked really well. Outside of them two, it wasn't all that great. Wasn't that great? So
yeah, and that's a good argument because you see Mac Jones coming to New England,
right?
You're thinking that he's similar type of player to Tom Brady. I'm not comparing the two career wise, but similar. Like we said with Drew Brees and Russell Wilson, body type. He had really good college accolades with Alabama, and yeah, once again didn't work out. Maybe you're right. Maybe that it was just personalities didn't fit.
Let's talk about this. So we're going to talk some New York Giants. I mentioned this before, and I brought this up before on a previous show. The GM, Joe Shane, had a comment about Daniel Jones' future because that is definitely up in the air, especially after last year's performance. This was the Giants GM talking about the future of Daniel Jones on the New York Giants.
The expectation is when Daniel's healthy that he will be our starting quarterback. Because I think we're going to have to do something in the quarterback. Whether it's free agency or the draft. I mean, just where we are. Tyrod's contract's up. DeVito is obviously under contract, and Daniel, we don't know when he's going to be ready. So, just from an off-season program standpoint, I think that'll be a position that we'll have to look. Again, there's different avenues, free agency or the draft, but we'll have to address it at some point.
Daniel Jones, fifth-year player, signed a 4-year, $160 million contract with, I believe, $81 or $82 million guaranteed. First year of the contract wasn't pretty. Offensive line issues, overall not playing well. I want to know what your opinion is. What do you think the Giants should do about their quarterback situation?
I think, first of all, the QB room as it is, say Tyrod Taylor doesn't come back. QB room as it is, Tommy DeVito and Daniel Jones, you got a good base. You're working with
good base. You're
working with good players. Right? Tommy DeVito came into the NFL, showed he can win football games. Right?
I can't argue that.
Daniel Jones can do the same thing, and I think he's much more talented, obviously, than Tommy DeVito. And now, Daniel Jones' injury history, right? Injuries up the gazoo here, all right? Torn ACL, high ankle sprain after high ankle sprain, hamstring issues, and he had those neck problems in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
That you could argue were because of the offensive line, but you got to take responsibility for Daniel Jones' injuries somehow. I think they have a good base, right? Do you go and draft a quarterback? Maybe if you see the Bears draft, if Marvin Harrison comes off the board, then you go, all right, the best player I think is off the board for sure.
Okay.
Then you go, all right, do we draft a QB? I think it's a good idea. I think
There you go.
I think you're playing Daniel Jones when he comes back. Say it's week 4 or 5 next year. All right, he's playing for his contract, which there's still a lot on it. I think it's $22 million to let him go after next year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I'm the Giants, I'm not only keeping Daniel Jones after next year, but I'm seeing what I can do with the quarterback I draft, whether it's the first round or the second round, see if I can develop him and develop Tommy DeVito into some type of functioning quarterbacks, because they have the skill players, right? Jalen Hyatt, Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, Hodgins. They got the pieces. Hopefully Saquon Barkley stays. We'll see. I think they got the pieces, and Giants should draft the QB. And in my mind, Daniel Jones is my playoff quarterback next year.
Oh God, no. You sound like Greg Jennings. Daniel Jones is number 8 quarterback in the league. No. So, for me, I talked about this before, and I said, you got to get the offensive line right. You got to get a true number 1. I like Hyatt. He's interesting. Robinson showed us some flashes. They're not all that great. They're young. We're not talking like early Justin Jefferson. We're not talking Jamar Chase. We're not talking about those incredible players. We're talking about guys who probably, if you take a look at who they are, 4th round picks. They're not drafted there, but I'm saying the type of talent
they played at that level. Right.
Because Jalen Hyatt showed a lot of problems. I know a couple Giants fans very happy. We got Hyatt. Look how fast he could run. Okay, how about his route running? How about his catching? How about his ability to separate?
Yeah,
that's something that Daniel Jones
Giants wide receiver
really
core in general this year has trouble with catching the football.
Right. Darius Slayton, Shepard. Yeah, no, not
Waller.
Good. He not only cannot catch very well, injury history is terrible for Darren Waller. But this is supposed to be the year, right? People were, ripping on me for not calling Daniel Jones a top 10 quarterback. And I was like, why? And I'm going to bring up the numbers. He had 15 touchdowns last season. 5 interceptions, that's great. Yeah, well, this season, 1-5 record. The completion percentage was good. But then again, he's a dink and dunker. That's why I nicknamed him Danny Dink and Dunk. 151.5 passing yards a game. Average depth of target was 6.9 yards. That was like 25th in the league. Touchdown interception ratio. He went back to previous Daniel Jones, not last year's Daniel Jones. 70 passer rating. He was a bad quarterback. And you could argue the offensive line. I think the offensive line has given up a total of 75 sacks, something like that, to all 3 quarterbacks. But if you look at it, this isn't a Brian Dable issue. He won with Tommy DeVito. He made Tyrod Taylor can actually run this offense pretty effectively, and that's why I think this week's matchup against the Rams could be interesting.
Do you think that's the right move? Playing Tyrod Taylor instead of DeVito?
Absolutely, because I think we saw what DeVito did last week. Not great. And then Tyrod Taylor brought him back. They were 8 points away from tying the game against the Eagles. We saw it. They almost beat the Bills. If it wasn't for a missed holding call on Darren Waller in the end zone, they probably would have won that game against the Bills. I mean, you had a lot of opportunities for the Giants to win a couple more games, and Tyrod Taylor was your quarterback. Did he put up 250 yards a game? No. But did he create the crucial turnover that Daniel Jones did this season, that Tommy DeVito has? No. He was very, very safe, ran the offense. The ball could move up and down the field a lot. The points weren't there. But when it comes to Daniel Jones, the reason why I didn't really argue to keep him. I just said, you got to get more talent here. And that's because you gave him a contract that really, if you don't want to be in cap hell, by the way, the cap is $69 million on your hit, or $47 million cap hit if you decide to release him this offseason. That's brutal. So you want to get rid of him the following year in 2025, because then it's only $22 million dead cap hit that year. So you're keeping him for one season. For me, if I'm looking towards the future, I am drafting a quarterback. Because you could draft offensive linemen later, and depending on where your draft position is, I mean, if Jaden Daniels goes, Drake May, Caleb Williams, if all three of those are gone, you might think about Michael Penix, maybe. Can we get him in the second round? Bo Nix, what about him? Can we get him in the second round? And then you could look at like Joe Alt from, I believe, Notre Dame, or the Penn State offensive lineman. You have a couple offensive linemen who are good at their place, but if you have the opportunity to go get Jaden Daniels or Drake May, Caleb Williams, 100% go get a quarterback.
I think Jaden Daniels is the guy for the Giants.
I think Jaden Daniels could be the guy for a lot of teams.
Yeah.
Because he just won the Heisman. It was incredible last season. Caleb Williams, we saw this past year, took a little bit of a dip. Now, you could argue the defense, but he himself wasn't playing that great late in the season. And then
he sat out the bowl game, right?
Yeah, sat out the bowl game. And then Drake May, he has turnover issues, but he's he's a gunslinger, and that's why a lot of Patriots fans like Drake May. I don't personally. I would take Jaden Daniels over him. But for me, if I'm the Giants and I have the opportunity to I may trade back into the first round or trade up in the second round to maybe get one of those quarterbacks. You need talent.
And under Daboll, that talent can grow.
Right.
100%.
So, I mean, it kind of worked not this past season, but the season before with Daniel Jones at quarterback, and still not great talent because he was dinking and dunking his way, and now people are going to, rip for me saying dinking and dunking, but I'll say it worked. If it doesn't work, I'm going to rip on you. But if it works, I'll give you credit for it. I may joke around about it, but for me, go get a quarterback, please. If you can get a quarterback like those top three, get them.
In the first round.
If you can't, that's where you need to figure out what other hole can we fill, or what other hole do we have that we desperately need to fill.
O-line has to get filled.
Evan Neal, the fact that he's still playing games shocks me.
That's a good point. Yeah, you got to draft the right O-line.
He blocks his own players when he's pass
terrible.
blocking. He's horrible.
I'd rather see him. I don't know. I'd rather see a cone at his position than Evan Neal.
Yeah, no, Evan Neal's not the guy. You got to get rid of him. People are saying, at least the reports are that they want to keep him. Why? Are you going to move him to guard? You're going to move him to center? What are you doing? The rookie center is not bad. Not bad at all. Andrew Thomas is your best offensive lineman, obviously.
You have Pugh.
Yeah. He's surprising.
He's not bad.
Yeah, no, he came in and it was like
came off the couch, I think.
Kind of could block. This ain't half bad. So the offensive lines is not good. It's bottom 3 in the league.
Absolutely.
And then if you could hold up, if you could pass block or even run block, because the 49ers aren't a tremendous pass blocking unit, but Christian McCaffrey still has like 1,300 yards. He can run the hell out of the ball.
That's Christian McCaffrey, yeah.
Right. But because I think personally, Saquon's looking for this deal because they talked about, we're not getting paid enough. Yet Saquon, the first day of training camp, decided, you know what, let me just sign the franchise tag deal just with $900,000 more in incentives. I think they're just going to franchise tag him again.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to extend him. So I think
he stayed on the field the entire year.
Right. And that's what's impressive, that he still tried to run the best behind basically a sieve of an offensive line. So Saquon, they're probably going to franchise tag him, develop that offensive line, because if you could block, then Daniel Jones or whoever your quarterback is can maybe dink and dunk or take that extra half second for Hyatt to break free, to hopefully separate and make big time plays. So Daniel Jones showing he could work. Mm-hmm. Just got to block for him a little bit.
Got to block for him. And the Giants are in a really interesting spot with Saquon Barkley because they have Eric Gray as their number 2 running back. Mm-hmm. And I think if you give him a shot, he's a playable running back, right? The problem is, who's your quarterback? Yeah. Right? So do you, like, if you had, right, a good quarterback for the Giants, if Daniel Jones was good, would you re-sign Saquon Barkley?
I don't need to sign to a long-term deal. I'd franchise tag him because.
But who's to say he takes that franchise tag? He can go somewhere else.
Then he'd be in. Okay, well, here's the thing: if they franchise tag him, we're going to be in the exact same situation we were in last season. So the problem with running backs is if you hold out, the running back position, while people don't want to say it or acknowledge it, it is one of the most replaceable positions. Because while you may not need a superstar running back, if a backup running back like Breida or whoever, if he can perform just sort of near you, you don't need to pay him $5 million more to be on your team. Because you can get maybe 2 running backs who could bring up numbers near you and have that sort of same impact on the game as you do, and you want $16 million a year. I could pay a guy 5 and be satisfied with him. So I'd send him on the franchise tag. If he doesn't want to sign it, sucks to be him, because you're still going to be with us, or you're just going to be in limbo the rest of the time. So Saquon's in a very unfortunate position because he can't do much.
You think he gets 1,000 yards this year? He's at 877 right now.
I don't think so.
He needs a couple of games.
So there's 2 games left. They play the Rams this week. I think I have the Rams winning and covering a 5.5 spread. I don't feel great about it.
You can go both ways.
I don't feel great about the Rams covering. I think Tyrod Taylor, because he doesn't make the crucial mistake, he may make a mistake or two, but it's not going to be late in the game when they're driving. He's going to throw a crazy interception. You could say the Eagles game last week, but that was just a lot of, you could argue, players getting pushed out of bounds and stuff like that. But I'm not going to throw it. He doesn't make the crucial mistake. I think the game could be close.
Yeah. What if I told you I took the Giants spread? Bad bet or good bet?
To cover the spread?
To cover, yeah.
I don't hate it. I have the Rams covering this week, but I don't feel good about it. So I think there is a chance that the Giants could be within that 5-point range and cover that spread. Because, like I said, Tyrod Taylor doesn't make the big mistake.
Yeah,
he's not going to put up
plays.
points.
He makes the plays he's supposed to make.
Right. And Tommy DeVito did that early on because they're like, who the hell is this guy? Tommy DeVito.
He didn't throw his first game. I think,
and that's what's weird about it. He had 4 attempts, no completions. And then in overtime, he can only throw the ball like backwards, basically. Mm-hmm. And then the next game he plays, this guy can throw the ball.
Yeah, he got a rushing touchdown.
Like, he started to play. We're like, okay, so it looks like it's more Daniel Jones than it is Brian Daboll. Because people are like, is Brian Daboll a good head coach, or did Daniel Jones just have a good year? Now we see this season, it's like, nope, seems like it's more Brian Daboll than it is Daniel Jones. So, well, I think
Brian Daboll, do you think he's a top 10 coach in the league?
No, I don't think he's top 10. I think I think he's close. He's a fringe top 10. But I just think because his talent hurts him, the players around him hurt him more than help him. Last season, it was great because he won Coach of the Year. And I thought, literally after week 1, I said, he deserves to win Coach of the Year after that comeback performance. I think he's close. But I probably could name 10 coaches I'd take over him. A lot in the AFC. Mm-hmm. Mostly, if in the NFC, Kyle Shanahan for me would probably be number 1. And then Andy Reid, number 2.
Robert Saleh, 3. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, God. I defended Robert Saleh on Tuesday because he got his side of the ball right. The offense is just abysmal. Yeah. The Jets have the 3rd best defense this season.
Well, the unfortunate position for him is that he's in charge of both sides of the ball.
Right. So. But having Nathaniel Hackett there, it's like, he's not a good OC. You have him there because of Rodgers. That's why you have him there. So, I don't know. The Jets are a disappointment. The Giants, you could argue. Giants and Jets, who's battling out for the biggest disappointment in New York? You got to hand that to the Giants. Jets are
the biggest disappointment in New York.
Well, yeah, this season, yeah, because all the hype is on Rodgers. And then you could argue, well, look at the records. Jets are 6-10 right now. Yeah. Giants are 5-10.
Yeah, but okay. Giants over/under going into the season was what, 6.5 wins?
Something like that. Well, that's because that's what I'm saying. Rodgers. Yeah. Was a starting quarter, and then it fell through.
What can you do? Yeah, you're right. What can you do there? But
they won 7 games with Zach Wilson, a quarterback last season. Zach Wilson.
How many points did they let up last night?
Was it 37, I believe?
Yeah, something like that. Against Joe Flacco.
To Joe Flacco. He's dropping 300 yards a game.
That's a disappointment.
It's a revenge game. It was Elijah Moore's revenge game and Joe Flacco's revenge game.
That's who the Jets should have got this offseason.
Joe Flacco?
Yeah.
I agree with you. Yeah. Although I don't feel it's in the production because look at the offensive line, look at the defense. Jets don't have that great offensive line.
No, not at all.
That's why I think Rodgers is going to be a failure next year. Or not as good.
Yeah, they definitely got to figure that out.
Yeah. Let's move into our next topic here. So I've mentioned this several times, and it seems like it keeps getting worse. So Belichick now reportedly has told his staff that he doesn't know what his future holds, whether or not he will be the head coach of the New England Patriots next season. Now, a lot of reports come out saying that after the Colts game, Robert Kraft says, if you lose against the Colts, we're basically done. Well, he lost against the Colts and lost a number of games after that. So it looks like Bill Belichick is one step out the door. Tom Curran of NBC Sports Boston even said that Robert Kraft basically has already made up his mind. A lot of fans are split saying, Belichick, not a great GM. He's an okay coach. Offense screwed up. Buying the groceries, creating burnt food. I want to know, do you think Belichick will be the head coach of the New England Patriots in the 2024-2025 NFL season?
I mean, if I believe you, if you're saying what Robert Kraft said, that he made up his mind already,
that's what's reported.
I'd be deeply disappointed.
Really?
If he leaves. I'd be deeply disappointed. And if he goes somewhere else, say he goes to San Diego Chargers, right?
Los Angeles now.
Los Angeles Chargers. I think they'd be quite the team. And I think that he could have had success with Mac Jones. His fault was not putting wide receivers around him. He put Juju Smith-Schuster. Yeah. I mean, I think at best he's an above average wide receiver. Showed promise in the beginning of his career, but I mean, you can compare Patrick Mahomes right now on the Chiefs, right? Who are his receivers? Besides Travis Kelce.
Basically nobody. Rashee Rice is interesting, but outside of that, you really got
his receivers can't catch the ball.
Right.
Mac Jones never had, like I said, Juju Smith-Schuster, but other than that, who were his receivers, man? They didn't put the tools around him, and in an alternate universe, I could really see Bill Belichick continuing his success if he had receivers around Mac Jones.
I completely agree with you. The Chargers, if Robert Kraft decides to trade him because he is under contract at least for next season, so Belichick would either need to retire or you could fire him, which I don't think that'll happen. I think just based on the history, I don't think that's something Robert Kraft would do. Or you could trade him away, fire him, or you could keep him. I think it's looking like they will separate, and I don't have a massive problem with that because I think with the amount of power Belichick has, the only way you can keep him is if you take away his GM rights. He cannot be the de facto general manager. Consistent failures since 2019. I actually did did a little bit of the research where it's if you take each of those draft picks, take each of the offensive players and determine whether or not they were a hit or not, it's 15%. Since 2019 were hits, and that's Brady's last season until now. Now, there's some interesting players like Demario Douglas this season, showed some promise, but he's a short, slot, quick guy. You don't have a 6'4" supreme wide receiver. Now, you had several opportunities to do that. For instance, I believe it was 2019, they had the second-round pick. They traded to the Seahawks. The second-round pick, Seahawks, that year was DK Metcalf. That exact pick they traded was DK Metcalf. And instead, they drafted N'Keal Harry. Don't know what they saw in the draft report. Don't understand it. But I agree with you. It was too far gone. Last season, you saw it. This season, it's right in front of your face. Mac Jones is broken. Offensive line can't hold up. Receivers can't get open. Now Mac Jones is completely broken. Will Belichick at 71, 72 years old develop a quarterback properly? Because I do think they will draft a quarterback. I thought earlier this season, you get Belichick out of there, you draft Marvin Harrison, you can make this work. Because at the time, the Patriots had the number 2 pick. Now, I've kind of given up on Mac Jones. People saying, give Bailey Zappi some talent. He could be the start. No, Bailey Zappi is not the starting quarterback of the New England Patriots. So, I think it is too far gone because the only way I think Kraft would keep him is if you take away his general manager rights. But if you look around the NFL, what team doesn't have a GM, has a quarterback, doesn't have a head coach?
Chargers.
The Chargers.
Yeah.
And I think it's perfect because it's basically what Brady did to Tampa. The missing piece was a quarterback. The missing piece for the Chargers is, I think, a defensive coach to fix that defense. Because Brandon Staley was a failure on defense. You get a good defensive coach, set some proper standards, someone with, actual credibility. I mean,
here's my proposal to the Chargers. Somehow get Robert Saleh as your defensive coordinator. Bring in Bill Belichick to pirate the ship with Herbert, Allen, Eckler, and you got a Super Bowl contending team right there. But on another note,
I don't know.
Tampa Bay, man, Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Do you see these stats? I'll read them out to you. 15 games, over 3,600 yards,
Yeah.
26 touchdowns, and if I'm reading this right, 50.9 QBR, 59.9 QBR.
Yeah.
Which, dude, nothing to sneeze at, to say the least.
And I was I was somebody who had a lot of expectation from when I thought he got screwed over in Cleveland. He didn't help himself though, because he was injured. He had a torn labrum and decided to play. When you play when you're injured, you put bad film out there. That actually hurts you more than it helps you. Then you go to Carolina, and I was hyped. I was like, okay, let's go. Baker Mayfield. His first game is against the Browns too. His former team.
Revenge game.
And he actually didn't play horribly. In the fourth quarter, he played extremely well, but they got screwed over by bad calls. He loses that game, and then it's just a downhill spiral from there. And so my disappointment was like spiking through the roof. So I was like, Baker's not a starting quarterback anymore. He's probably going to be a backup for the rest of his career. Or if he loses to Kyle Trask, at that point, just retire. Because Kyle Trask, we've never seen him. He's a second-round pick. He's not a great quarterback. He got the job, and I admit it on Tuesday. Baker Mayfield has played incredible. Like, he looks like a starting quarterback. We've seen spikes this season where he's the top 10 quarterback in the league. And I think even this season, he's a fringe. I don't know if he's, I would break it down more, but he's at least a fringe top 10 player right now, a top 10 quarterback.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're talking a guy who, we saw, the craziness of Baker Mayfield. Was it 48 hours with the Rams? He has that tremendous comeback
that great
victory.
game, yeah.
Yeah, and it was against the Raiders, and he has that beautiful throw to score a touchdown, but he's nearing career highs in passing yards. He's right now, he's second for his career in touchdowns. He'll probably get it, and he's one more to tie it. Interceptions, though, it's career low right now. He's tied for his career low. So I got to hand it to Baker.
Him and Mike Evans, man. Mike Evans,
right? I
think he's gained his a better reputation now. I think he's finally, people are noticing how good he is. But year after year, 1,000-yard season, 1,000-yard season, 1,000-yard season.
Right.
I mean, if you're Baker Mayfield, you walked into a situation you had nothing to lose and you made the most of it.
Yeah.
So good for him. Good for Tampa Bay. I'd like to see them have success in the playoffs. Don't know if that's going to happen. I think they got a good defense. And yeah, good for them.
I'll say this about Mike Evans. You didn't hear about him until Brady got there, because Brady was, arguably the best player in NFL history. When Jameis Winston was there, it's like he was getting these 1,000-yard seasons, but he wasn't like a Jamar Chase or any one of these receivers who's, a big personality in the media, the hot take quotes or whatever the case may be. He literally he's basically the definition of just doing your job. And he's getting 1,000 yards with Jameis Winston. And obviously Tom Brady, now Baker Mayfield. They got to figure out the contract at the end of the season.
Yeah.
If you can't keep him, I think Baker does take a hit, because this is another 1,000-yard season. He has double-digit touchdowns. Mike Evans is incredible.
Incredible. I wanted the Giants to get him, especially if we didn't see this success out of Tampa Bay.
Right.
I think he would have been exactly what the Giants were looking for if they were winning football games.
Right.
Unfortunately, Daniel Jones got hurt. Obviously, we know what happened with the Giants. Yeah, I love everything about Mike Evans, and happy he has Baker Mayfield. Hopefully, they have a good playoff run.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see, at the end of the season, the contract, because they do have, I think, one of the worst passing defenses in the league. They got to sort that out. Chris Godwin, he's on a 3-year deal right now. You're going to keep him probably. You got to sort the Mike Evans thing out. I don't think Chris Godwin being your number one receiver is going to produce nearly the same numbers.
I think
he's great, but he's not Mike Evans.
I think they work something out, right. Mike Evans and them. And I think Baker Mayfield resigns. There are guys out there though. Amari Cooper showing real consistency with Joe Flacco.
Right.
Who not the best quarterback, but
what he's doing right now.
Is great. Yeah. There are other options, and I really would like to see Tampa Bay go on some sort of consistent run here within the next coming years, and I think they can.
All right. So we're going to take a break right now. Thank you, Phil, for this. But yeah, we're going to take a break. The Harvey Hour will be back right after this.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. your Never Thought You'd Get This Far podcast and watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the
Drop the episode anywhere people listen and find out who they're cooking with, where they're finding inner balance, and why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. Your Never Thought You'd Get This Far podcast. And watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the
Drop the episode anywhere people listen and find out who they're cooking with, where they're finding inner balance, and why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. Your Never Thought You'd Get This Far podcast. And watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the
Drop the episode anywhere people listen and find out who they're cooking with, where they're finding inner balance, and why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. Good to have you in on a Friday. Sorry for that little break. We were getting things sorted out, transitions happening. But I want to talk about this real quick before we jump into the main show. So the Detroit Lions, right? Dan Campbell and this team finally made the playoffs and finally have won a division, the first time they won a division in 30 years. Now they have something that they have an opportunity to do something that they haven't done really in the history of the Lions for the past about 30 years as well, and that's win a playoff game. Now, this team, as we've talked about on the show, can be very hot and very, very cold. A pretty unpredictable team when it comes to this offense and this defense. The offense is a little bit more consistent, but this defense that we thought was solved is partially solved. Not entirely solved, but partially solved. And that's because one of which is their rushing defense. So this season, currently, they are 4th in rushing defense. Last season, they were 29th. Or essentially third to last. They had the worst total defense in the entirety of the NFL. This season, they're a slightly above average at 15th, which is definitely an improvement. And I believe, really, this is going to keep building. A lot of young players, a lot of pieces are going to move. Aiden Hutchinson, he is by far easily the biggest hit you've had on your team. Jahmyr Gibbs on the offense, he is the most explosive player on that offense for the Lions. The Lions currently in the rushing attack are 3rd in the league, and that helps Jared Goff a lot because he can initiate that play action, which if we take a look at his best season, who do you have in the backfield during his best season? It was with the Rams when they went 13-3, and Todd Gurley was a huge part of that Rams offense and a huge part of that Rams success. So when it comes down to having success for the Lions, the reason why they're hot and cold, I think it's because of their defense. Their defense in these big-time games, we've seen it. The Seahawks, who for some reason for the past couple seasons have not been able to come out on top. The defense has been terrible against pretty decent teams or sometimes even really good teams. The Ravens got absolutely smoked by the Ravens. The Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love did a number on them on Thanksgiving. You also had the Chicago Bears, who gave you trouble both times of the season. I think that could be because Justin Fields is playing probably for his career with Chicago. So this team needs to figure out what it's going to do moving forward. I would keep Jared Goff. I would not draft another quarterback. Receiver talent, I think, is perfectly fine. The offense itself right now is third in the league. The defense, when it comes to passing defense with the cornerbacks, that's where you need to figure it out. I think the pass rush is more than fine. The offensive line, more than fine. Brian Branch, interesting. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, interesting. You got to find, a balance between really good and really bad. And right now, the Lions, during the big-time games, it's trending towards bad. So when it comes to the playoffs, I don't know exactly how this will turn out. I'm hoping, because it's in my prediction, that the Lions do come out on top and win their first playoff game. I think the last time they won a playoff game was about 30 years ago. I look at it right now. The last time they won the playoff game was all the way back in 1991. So 32 years ago was the last time they won a playoff game. So it's been a very, very long time. But I picked them to win the division. That's exactly what they did. Their first playoff berth since 2016. The first time they won the division since 1993. And I seriously think, depending on the matchup, because right now, if you look at the standings, they are currently the second team in the entirety of the NFC. They're going to play probably, we'll take a look at here, the Rams or the Seahawks. The Seahawks give them trouble. I'd be very, very nervous if the Lions go up against the Seahawks in the playoffs. And if they play the Rams are on an extremely hot streak right now. Extremely hot streak. I don't know if they'd beat them. So there's an opportunity for them to fall. I hope not. I have them winning a playoff game. I don't think they can get to the Super Bowl, but it's definitely interesting to see how far this team can go. I have them winning one game. I damn sure hope they do. Let's get into our full show. I'm here, as always, alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How are you doing on this Friday?
I'm doing great, Nate. Looking forward to the show here. I see you're doing double duty tonight.
Yeah,
you had
big
your
show.
Friend over. I was watching the show. Very good.
Yeah. So let's get into our first topic of today's show. So the breaking news happened earlier on in the week. Russell Wilson is now benched for Jarrett Stidham, and this was Sean Payton when discussing the move from Russell Wilson into Jarrett Stidham. Let's take a listen again.
Look, we're desperately trying to win. I can't replace the entire offensive line. I can't bring in 5 new receivers, and if it continues over a period of time, then there'll be another guy here talking to you as well. This is something that, these are difficult decisions. And obviously there's more attention when it's the quarterback who's under contract, but different than maybe, earlier decisions we've made with maybe last year's prior starters.
So that was Sean Payton. I want to know, how surprised are you that Russ got benched for Jarrett Stidham?
I was surprised. I didn't, I was genuinely surprised when I heard that news. I didn't think they would do that. Russell Wilson hasn't played that bad this year. And he did play, this happens to some quarterbacks after they play against the Patriots. The defense of the Patriots is one of the best. And they went up against the Patriots defense when it's peaking. And Russell Wilson didn't have a great game, but no one on the offense did. So, and I think it was more about the Patriots than it was about the Broncos offense. So, it might have been a little hasty to bench him, but maybe they've made a decision they're gonna be off him anyway. This is you were mentioning earlier. This is the same thing that happened last year to Derek Carr, and Stidham was the same quarterback. Came in, played the last 2 games, and then they told Derek Carr we're parting ways, and they traded him.
I thought it was very, very interesting when, they signed him to a pretty decent backup quarterback salary, too. They pried him away for the Raiders, and when he showed, the first game, I believe, was against the 49ers, and he actually showed, this guy can play a little bit. And one of the first moves Sean Payton made was, let's go out and get him. Let's go out and get Jarrett Stidham. And from then on, we kind of were like, okay, what's going on here? We even talked about it. If Russell Wilson shows glimpses of what he had last season, we should be expecting Jarrett Stidham to be in there. And we're kind of seeing it now. It's only the 2 games, and this is not based on performance, because I mentioned it earlier. I think Russell Wilson was playing more not to lose than it was he's making the big play to try to win. And we heard throughout the entire season of it, like, simplify the playbook. Let's wristband the playbook. Let's make stuff a little bit simpler for him. That's not a good sign. Not a good sign at all. And now we're seeing an injury guarantee, which we've seen a number of quarterbacks recently. They get benched for these injury guarantees, or they're not obviously going to say that, but we kind of know it's for that injury guarantee. Derek Carr, same thing. You bench him. He has a number of millions of dollars for an injury guarantee. For Russell Wilson, it's $37 million for an injury guarantee, which is a massive amount of money. But I want to look at the trade, because this trade may go down as one of the worst trades in NFL history. Let's take a look. Look at this. Russell Wilson and a 4th-round pick for 2 firsts, 2 seconds, a 5th-round pick, and 3 players.
It's amazing. They gave up way too much.
I mean,
Noah Fant's a pretty good tight end.
He's not bad.
Yeah.
He's not bad.
Drew Lock, he's probably a serviceable backup quarterback, but he's not a starter.
He beat the he beat the Eagles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the last drive, right? 92-yard game-winning drive, basically.
I still think that what's his name is better than him.
Geno Smith.
Geno Smith.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. Yeah, Geno Smith is not the worst of the
but
two
they gave up a
quarterbacks.
ton.
2 firsts, 2 seconds, a 5th, and 3 players for one player who we saw on the Seahawks was declining.
Yeah, the Seahawks look like they're a playoff team this year.
And the Broncos still haven't made the playoffs. I mean, Sean Payton is a historically great offensive coach. And I think a lot of people acknowledge that he is this incredible coach. Won a Super Bowl with Drew Brees. Drew Brees several 5,000-yard seasons. He was a great coach. We even saw with Jameis Winston. He had a pretty good start to his year after throwing for 30 turnovers, 35 turnovers, 30 interceptions. We saw Jameis Winston be really, really good. And now we see with Russell Wilson, and I mentioned this. I've said this several times. First the coach, then the player. Nathaniel Hackett went. Russell Wilson's up next. They're not going to fire 2 head coaches when really the common denominator is the player. And it didn't work. It looked better. It still wasn't that great. So I think the personalities didn't work really. Had his own office, had his own staff basically. It didn't seem like he was, a sort of a team player. So for me, I'm not incredibly surprised because I predicted this was more of a trend, not a blip. Maybe it's not as bad of a blip, but we're not seeing the prime Russell Wilson, or really not much of it.
You think he's gone?
I think he's gone because he already said. I'll try to bring up the quote here on his Twitter account, but he basically said, next year or whatever. He's probably going to move on, and they're expected to release him or cut him in March. So as soon as he passes the physical, when that's not guaranteed anymore, he'll be gone. And so
you don't think they'll try to trade him?
No.
They'll just release him. They wind up getting nothing for him. Two non-playoff seasons. The first one really bad.
Yeah,
they still have a chance to make the playoffs right now. It's very remote, very
slim. And I also say this: it didn't make a lot of sense, the entire move. I should have added also in that trade, they signed him to a massive deal that literally made no sense because the contract, I don't even think still is hit yet. And that's what's interesting about it. The contract it's not even in action right now. So
he's still playing on his old contract from one of the Seahawks?
He's on a 5-year, $242 million deal, $242.5 million deal that doesn't kick in until next season, the 2024 season. So they signed to a massive deal. He won't even get to that point.
Yeah. So how much do they owe him?
The dead cap they'll try to incur is going to be massive. We're talking like I think it's $80 million, something like that.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
And $80 million over 2 years. It's going to be next year. It's going to be a dead cap of it's $85 million next season. That's brutal, absolutely brutal. So that's going to probably not help you in the roster building aspect of it. But I think Sean Payton, he has a reputation for a certain reason. Super Bowl winning coach. Jameis Winston looked pretty good. He can make it work. And with Russell Wilson, I just think the personalities did not match.
Well, we'll see how Stidham does. If he goes out there and throws 4 interceptions, loses badly, then I don't know.
Also, the defense was abysmal to start the season. It improved slightly, but the defense, we hark back to the 70-20
I still think that
loss.
the Broncos went up against a very good defense last week, and that had a lot to do with them losing, more than Russell Wilson, I think. Russell Wilson did engineer 2 touchdowns and two-point conversions at the end to tie the game, right? So, and the Patriots, made some nice plays to get into field goal range, and Ryland, for whatever reason, he managed to hit that 56-yarder, which was a surprise to me.
Yeah.
So, I don't think it was all Russell Wilson's fault last week.
He hasn't been that great this season. He hasn't been that great.
Well, what his stats? He had over 20 touchdown passes,
this
single-digit interceptions, much better than
Russell
last
Wilson
year.
has a 66% completion percentage, 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions.
It's not bad.
It's not bad, but
That ranks him up there in the quarterbacks.
But here's what's surprising. We talk about how bad his year was last season. He has fewer yards this season. Touchdowns, he has 10 more. Interceptions, 3 less.
Yeah.
He's not producing anywhere near
Wins
the same.
wise, he had more wins.
Wins wise, he basically doubled his wins. He had 4 last season. He has 7 this season, which I expected. I said he should be able to double his wins with the head coach and with the healthy talent.
He might have gotten to 9 wins if they let him play the last 2 games.
I don't know about that. The last 2 games they're going is the Chargers without Keenan Allen, but we just saw without Keenan Allen, the Chargers nearly beat the Bills.
Easton Stick is a quarterback.
And then at Raiders, who Aiden O'Connell, they just had a weird game.
Aiden O'Connell can't complete a pass after the first quarter.
I think that was strategy, just to run the hell out of the ball. Hey, Zamir White, not bad. Not bad at all. Yeah. Let's move on to our next topic here. So last night's game was pretty interesting. It was Joe Flacco's revenge game, as well as it was Elijah Moore's revenge game as well. The Browns, they clinched a playoff for the second time in 20 years. Joe Flacco, nearly 310 yards. He had 309 with 3 touchdowns and 1 interception, which was a pick 6. Trevor Siemian, the quarterback. Not a phenomenal game, although they did shrink the lead slightly from going, 34-17 to 34-20, which was the final score of the game. I want to know, I have coined them earlier on, the Cleveland Clowns. You have said on the show that you don't particularly love the Cleveland Browns.
I don't.
But let's be honest here. How dangerous do you think this team can be?
I think they are pretty dangerous. Actually, they found a quarterback. Joe Flacco's having a revival year, playing as well as he's ever played. Coming off the couch to start for the Browns is not what you expected to happen. Thought it was going to be Deshaun Watson's team. Deshaun Watson can't stay healthy. The other quarterbacks, they just didn't have faith in.
DTR, PJ Walker.
Yeah, they didn't have faith in those guys. So they tried Flacco. It's worked out great. He can throw that deep ball just like he always has. He's got the receivers that can catch it. They got a great defense. I think they make noise in the playoffs.
So you think how far do you think this team could go then?
They're going to be they're winning their division?
No,
they're not.
They're one game behind the Ravens, who played the Dolphins. There's a shot there though.
Yeah,
there's a chance.
I don't think they win the division, so that makes them the 5th seed.
That makes them the 5th seed.
5th seed, so they play the.
They'll probably go up against right now the 5th or the 5th seed would play the 4th seed, which is the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm sorry, Jacksonville Jaguars.
I think they can win the first playoff game then, because the Jaguars are having trouble this year. Trevor Lawrence is banged up. They don't know when he's going to be back. He's got an a AC joint issue with his shoulder.
Joint, right.
And plus he had a ankle injury too. He hasn't played well and when he's been hurt, and the team overall has not played well. They're on the downturn right now. So if they manage to make the playoffs, then I think the Browns could beat them. So that gets them into the second round. Yeah. I don't know who they'd be playing then, but they've got that great defense. It's really good, and now their offense is good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I find shocking is that Joe Flacco, by the way, he was falling asleep at the very end of that game. He was on the sideline just nodding off, basically. Not a great look.
Probably tired.
He's a 38-year-old quarterback, and he's slinging at 300 yards a game. It's incredible. And by the way, I mentioned on Tuesday, before this game even started, I said, He reminds me of 2012 playoff Joe Flacco. And
They say he's playing as well as he ever has.
And the numbers match exactly that.
Yeah.
You take a look at the comparison of the 2012 playoff Joe Flacco, who, by the way, won the Super Bowl, and then you're like, this team, oh, Joe Flacco, what? He looks really good. Yeah, he looks like his prime Super Bowl winning self at 38 years old.
Yeah. Well, the offensive line of the Browns is enough to keep him upright back there and look down the field and throw it.
Right.
You know, unlike the Jets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why
How dumb were the Jets? They should have hung on to him.
I don't think he would have had the same production because that
Maybe
offensive
not,
line
but
couldn't
they would have had a better chance than they did with Zach Wilson. And you know, they needed to have I was listening to the Fan today. And they couldn't say enough bad things about the Jets. But one thing they said is you had to have a half decent backup quarterback.
Right.
You know, and they paid Zach Wilson $8 million. $8 million for the performance that he's turned in this year, right? And Trevor Siemian, he's no good.
Right.
They could have had Joe Flacco. I think they would have. They won. The Jets won 6 games.
They're 6.
They could have got at least 2 more games. They'd be playing for something right now instead of out of it.
Right. Joe Flacco. I know it's only a 5-game sample size. He's throwing 50 yards. This is by far the most yards per game of his entire career, by 50, basically. 279.1, which was his career year in 2015. This season, 323.2 yards.
Yeah.
So
5 games, right?
Right, 5 games. So Joe Flacco, I don't know how far this team go. I know they could win a playoff game. If they play the Chiefs, if they play the Jaguars, I am I'm beyond the moon in confidence that this team could beat the crap out of both those teams.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. The Chiefs have no receivers. And I think with Joe Flacco playing smart, he's not making any big mistakes. He's throwing for 300 yards a game. Why can't this team make it? This is going to sound crazy, and I fully accept that. With the amount of questions we have, Dolphins, they're bad on the road and bad against good teams. We've seen that so far. Indianapolis, who are currently in the playoffs, they're no good. Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence out. Defense is inconsistent. Offensive line can't hold up very well. Chiefs, defense is spotty now. Offensive line can't hold up. Mahomes having a very poor year. Buffalo, they're 9-6 and have been on a downtrend. They're gaining momentum now, but we've seen them throughout the season. Josh Allen turnover prone.
They've been on a winning streak lately.
The only team that I'm fearful of is the team in their own division, the Baltimore Ravens. Why can't this team make the AFC Championship game? Is it because Joe Flacco? If it's because Joe Flacco, I could say 323 yards a game. The turnovers are bad. I think he has 11 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. The turnovers are bad. But the defense...
That's because he's throwing the ball deep. You're going to get more interceptions on the deep balls.
And I'll say this. Yes, he's turning the ball over, but the defense is taking the ball right back. Several defensive turnovers. Trevor Siemian, it was a complete mess. Interceptions, fumbles, whatever the case may be. Why can't this team make the AFC Championship game?
Well, they might be
there. They have
there.
the defense.
They might be there against the Ravens.
I have confidence that the Browns can make some noise. It's crazy to sound that a 38-year-old quarterback, Joe Flacco, later than midway in the year, is coming in throwing 300 yards a game. But my question is...
I wouldn't be so quick to write off the Chiefs. I mean,
I'm done with them.
They did win the Super Bowl last year.
Right.
And they played very well in the playoffs generally. So they get deep into the playoffs even if they don't get to the Super Bowl. So I wouldn't write them off just yet. I think the Browns against the Chiefs would be a pretty close game.
Very interesting. Who do you think will win, though?
Right. Well, the way the Chiefs have been playing, they lost, 5 out of their last 8. I'd say the Browns. I might pick the Browns, but I think it'll be a very close game.
Yeah. Let's get into our next topic. Don't really know why we're talking about this, but we're talking Patriots and Bills. So Zappe is 2-2 as a starter this year, 4-2 in his career as a starter. While Josh Allen has won 3 out of the last 4 games. This Bills team, look, they're on the right upward swing here. They won 3 out of the last 4 games against New England. Pardon me. I want to know: do you think Bailey Zappe can copy Mac Jones and upset the Buffalo Bills? They're 14-point underdogs. Yeah. Can he do it?
I think it's possible. I am gonna, as we're gonna do our picks here in a few minutes. I'm picking the Bills, but I don't think they'll beat them by 14. I think it will be. I think it'll be closer than that. I think it will be a close game. So, I do think the Bills will probably win it, but it will be closer than that. And There is a chance the Patriots could upset them.
So, when it comes to the Patriots, right? Bailey Zappi, we've seen this season. He hasn't looked terrible. When he comes into games after Mac Jones sells the game, he wasn't great. Wasn't even good. Interceptions. We saw him in the Colts game. Interception. It hasn't been that great. It really hasn't been that great. I have the Patriots covering, but I'm going to say that Bailey Zappi does not do what Mac Jones can and play, I'm going to say, a damn near perfect game and beat the Bills. Because I just think the momentum swing is in the Bills' favor. The talent swing, the roster swing is in the Bills' favor. A lot of things are in the Bills' favor except maybe defense, where the Patriots recently have been very, very good on defense. So maybe that's the only swing the Patriots have. Right now, the Bills have the number 10 defense in the league, while New England has the 8th. So that's the only swing I could say. Is the offense better? No. Running game better? Hell no. Quarterback.
Cook has been very good lately.
Right. Quarterback matchup. Who's better? Josh Allen.
Josh Allen is, for sure.
Who's the best player on defense on the field? You could say the best singular individual player, because Judon and Gonzalez are out. You may give it to someone on the Bills. Might. I don't know. Who's the better head coach? I'm saying Belichick.
Yeah, I would say
I'm
that
saying
for
Belichick.
Sure, yeah.
Who has the better special teams?
The Bills.
The Bills. So I'm saying the Patriots cover just because we just saw Bailey Zappi and this team score 20 points in a singular quarter when the offense has been abysmal this entire season, basically.
One of those TDs was a special teams TD.
Right, but still, 20 points in one quarter.
Yeah.
Defense, the Patriots, that's the special teams that the Patriots are known for, is really, really good special teams. So
they haven't been that great this year.
Right, they've been, I think, second to last or very, very near last in special teams. So I'm going to say the way that the momentum swing is, the fact that the Patriots, I think, should be playing for a higher draft pick, because people are now saying, just get Bailey Zappi some talent. He could be a starting quarterback in the league. No, I don't think. Can he make some interesting plays, and does it maybe look a little bit nicer than Mac Jones's throws? Maybe, but he's not a starter. You put him up. By the way, in that game against the Broncos, Russ Wilson's having a down year. In the game against the Steelers, he was playing Mitch Trubisky. We just saw what Mason Rudolph could do. Why the hell wasn't he in there before? I have no idea. I'm going to say the Patriots do lose, which I think is the smarter option, because we got to not stay in the now season. We got to look to the future. We can't be the New York Jets.
Bills need to win.
Bills do need to win.
They need to win.
They're 9-6. Their playoff hopes are good right now, but
they're a playoff team right now.
Yeah,
right?
they're 9-6. They're second in the AFC East right now. They have a little bit of a gap from
what seed are they? The number six seed.
They would be the 6th seed, correct? Because the Indianapolis Colts are 8-7. They'd be the 7th seed. So the Raiders could make some noise if they somehow win this week, which they might. I believe they play the Colts this week, which I think one of those teams is obviously going to make it. So
I think even if the Bills lost this week,
Pittsburgh as well, Cincinnati, they're both 8-7.
Who the Bills play in their last game of the season?
I believe it's the Miami Dolphins.
Wow. So that's an important
game. At Dolphins. And I think if the Dolphins beat the Ravens, I'm going to take the Dolphins to beat the Bills. Because what they just did was they beat 3 really good teams.
So the Dolphins are playing the... who they play this week?
This week, the Dolphins are up against the Ravens. They beat the Cowboys last week. They're at Ravens.
So if they lose to the Ravens, and the Bills beat the Patriots, then the last game of the season
it'll be 11-5 and 10-6.
It'll be for the division.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And then if we look at Baltimore, who won in the matchups, we take a look at this here. Miami. They played Miami the last week of the season, but the Bills already have one win over them. So I don't know the exact tie-breaking rule at that point. I think it gets broken down farther than that. But I'm taking the Bills to win. And I would say just because it's Bailey Zappi, and at this point, the offense is so unpredictable.
Yeah. I'd love to see the Patriots upset them. That would be really great. That would be, even it's been a very hard season for us Patriots fans, and it would be wonderful to see that happen. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'll be watching and hoping.
I'll say this. The only thing I could defend Mac Jones on now, basically, is that he was able to beat the Bills, and he played very, very well in that game. So if Bailey Zappi wins this game and plays well, I have no more defenses, really. I'm basically out. So
yeah, I'll just say this before
multiple reasons why I'm picking the Bills.
Before we move on to the next topic.
Sure.
I think the Patriots will be making a huge mistake if they fire Bill Belichick. And I do think they're going to have a high draft pick. They may win these next 2 games. Maybe they'll win 1 out of the next 2. And that will drop them down a little bit. I'm not sure they should go for a quarterback. Maybe they should get because I don't think they're that far away, really. They've lost a number of games by less than by 1 score or less. And, they've been very close in these games. It's been mistakes that have cost them. So their defense is fine. They just bring back the players they have, get those other guys healthy. They'll have an outstanding defense next year. It's the offense that needs to be fixed. Whether you take the risk and go for drafting a quarterback who, let's face it, the first-year quarterbacks, how often do they get to the playoffs? Not that often.
C.J. Stroud has a good chance.
Yeah, okay. Well, he's a rookie of the year for sure, I think.
Probably.
So maybe you look for a serviceable quarterback in a trade, or pick somebody up who's released. Maybe that's Russell Wilson. I don't know. Maybe Jimmy Garoppolo. There's going to be some quarterbacks there that will be better than what you've had the last couple of years for sure. So, and then focus the draft on picking up some offensive pieces. Get some drafting. Try to find a decent offensive lineman. Come on, get a couple of decent, good offensive linemen. Pick a wide receiver or trade for one. You got plenty of cap space this next year. One of the highest cap spaces available. You could make the offense a lot better. The defense is fine. You'll be right back in there next year. Don't fire Bill Belichick.
I'll say this, and we talked about this. It may have been on Christmas or whatever. I want to know specifically, if you were the owner of the Patriots, or you could play God, basically, what specific moves, what would you make to bring the Patriots from disappointing in 4-11, could be 5-11 after this week, or 4-12. Probably it's been the worst season since about 2000. They went 5-11. It may even been the worst season since like 1992 when they went 1-15 and then 2-14. What specific moves would you make? Because we talked about this. I think our viewers, I think they should really hear what your concrete plan is to put the Patriots back in playoff contention.
Okay, my concrete plan is bring back the defensive players that you have. Right, make sure you get Barmore. He's had a great season this year. Make sure you have him. Jabril Peppers. Make sure you bring him back. Get the Judon back in there. He'll be healthy. Get Gonzalez back, right? Aside from that, you've got good linebackers. You got a decent defensive line. They could get a little more pressure on the quarterback, but with Judon back, they will do that. So the defense is set. I think you just try to bring those players back, and you get the others healthy. You'll have depth, and you'll have very good defense. And on the offensive side, you need to get a quarterback. And I would go with if you could pick up Russell Wilson or Jimmy G, either one of those guys, I would do that instead of drafting one. And I'd use my draft picks to strengthen the offensive line and and find a way to get a elite wide receiver. That's what I would do.
What about the OC situation? Keep Bill O'Brien?
No, I would get rid of that. Thank you for that. I'd get rid of Bill O'Brien and bring back Josh McDaniel.
Yeah, that's the one that shocked me. And my plan for the Patriots is why the problem is you keep going back. You went back to Bill O'Brien. You went back to Patricia. You went back to Judge. You're sticking with Belichick for now. This league has changed. You can't stay in your own ways. You might go back to Jimmy G if it was up to you.
Josh McDaniel was a good offensive coordinator for the Patriots.
I agree. Completely agree.
Every year he was there. Even with Cam Newton, he got the most out of Cam Newton he could. Cam Newton got COVID. After that, he was not the same player.
It was drastic too. Yeah.
And Mac Jones had his best season under. He was close to being Rookie of the Year under Josh McDaniel. And look at the way they played against Brady. Mac Jones looked like Brady.
He outplayed him too. He outplayed him.
So Josh McDaniel can make the offense go for the Patriots. I'd bring him back.
And I think Mac Jones, if he had a say, and obviously he doesn't have the repertoire, the reputation to be like, I like that guy as a coach, I'll take him. Belichick would never do that. I think if Mac Jones had a say, he would also say, I wasn't broken under Josh McDaniels.
Right.
Up until the last maybe 3 or 4 weeks of the season, it was me and Jamar Chase neck and neck for Offensive Rookie of the Year. And then all of a sudden, at the end, he didn't win it, but he did make a Pro Bowl as a
they made the
replacement.
playoffs.
They made the playoffs
with the rookie quarterback.
Right.
Yeah.
And it fell apart after that. So they don't have Mac. Like, my thing is, they don't have Mac Jones anymore. They won't have him. Unfortunately for me, he's too broken to try to fix under this regime. I think it's too late for him at number 10 in the century blue and silver or whatever, the century blue, red, and silver. So unfortunately, that's the case. So I think they're done with Mac Jones. You got to bring in a quarterback. You got to bring in talent. I agree with you there. The defense has been good. But for me, if I had a draft pick, I'd go get Jaden Daniels, the Heisman winner, LSU. Right now, and by the way, I said that back in I said that weeks ago before he even won the Heisman. I said, if this kid goes at the second round pick, I take him 100%, even if Mac Jones played great. And now there's reports out he could challenge Caleb Williams for the number 1 pick overall. So
No, he won't be there for the Patriots then.
Right.
They're number 4 right now.
if Jaden Daniels is available, draft him. You can't screw that up. You can't screw it up. All right, you referenced it a little bit earlier. Let's talk about our next topic before we go to break. So the Chiefs this season have not been great, and I think we could all acknowledge that. They've lost 5 of the past 8 games. While Jake Browning, he's sort of fallen back down to earth, especially last game.
Sure.
He lost
last game was terrible.
34-11 to Mason Rudolph and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Chiefs have not looked great. They just lost in maybe one of the weirdest games I've ever seen, probably one of the worst Mahomes games he's ever had, to the Las Vegas Raiders last week. I want to know, this is against the Bengals. Jake Browning came back down to earth. Can the Chiefs somehow bounce back this season, get the ball rolling, create some momentum with 2 games remaining? Do you think the Chiefs can defeat Jake Browning and the Cincinnati Bengals?
I do. I think Jake Browning is a big reason why the Steelers crushed the Bengals last week. He made some terrible decisions, threw some terrible picks. Right down near the end zone there, he threw a bad pick. I don't think he's the answer for them. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. Bengals. I think they'll lose to the Chiefs in this game.
Do you have a particular score, or if you had to make a score, what would you say? Do you think this game is? It's a 6.5 point spread.
I think it's the Chiefs are favored by 6.
6.5. Yeah.
I think they'll cover for sure, and I think the score is. Well, I think the Chiefs' defense has been a little banged up lately, but against Jake Browning, I think they'll hold the Bengals to maybe 17 points, 20
17 points.
And I think the Chiefs will score at least 30.
Wow. Okay. So a big-time win for them.
Yeah.
And then we mentioned this. And I'll talk about it after I make my take on this. So when it comes to the Bengals and Jake Browning, for me, I'm going to take the Bengals here. Because I just think, and I fully acknowledge, the defense for the Bengals has not been great this season. They're ranked 31st in the league in total defense. The running game has been non-existent. They're dead last in that. Outside of Joe Mixon, you really got nobody. The next highest rusher for the Bengals is Chase Brown with 131 yards. So it's really Joe Mixon or bust. Samaje Perine, could he be a good number 2 for you like he was last season? Probably. But for when it comes to this, Jamar Chase, he's chirping now. He's saying the defense really isn't that outside of Snead. So the Bengals are chirping again. That's where I'm a little bit I don't feel great about it because they called Arrowhead Burrowhead and they lost him in the playoffs. So I don't like the chirping. You can chirp them after the game like the Eagles did when they beat them. So I don't love that. But I think this season has been crazy. This may be one of the craziest seasons we've ever had, at least in my recent memory. Backups everywhere. We had the Pastronaut, 72 hours or however long it was, and all of a sudden he's coming back and winning games for them. By the way, Jaron Hall will be the quarterback of the Vikings. Nick Mullins got benched after throwing for 411 yards. Don't understand why that happened. But it's Tommy Cullets. Exactly. Tommy DeVito came in and started winning games after not being allowed to throw more than 4 passes. Don't understand what's going on exactly in this NFL season. So why wouldn't it surprise me if a bad Chiefs team ended up losing in crazy fashion to the Cincinnati Bengals. I have the Bengals winning here. Now, I think this could be a field goal game, but I just think that they're going to be opportunistic here. I think we could see a similar version of the Raiders game. I think 1 or 2 interceptions could happen, maybe 1 or 2 fumbles, set Jake Browning up for some great moments. And I think really, if you get him set, you get him lined up, make him feel a little bit comfortable, hold for a second and a half more on the offensive line, I think the Bengals could come back. Now, where I'm going to swing it back to you is, you're saying they win by about, 13, 14 points, at least. Is this a game that could catapult the Chiefs back into Super Bowl winning mindset? Because we thought about it before. I said, is there anything you do? And
Yeah,
you
it
said
could.
no.
I guess it could. Sure. Yeah, I think it could.
Is there a number where the Chiefs offensively, because they could
If
have...
they score 30 points, they'll be feeling like the offense is back where it should be because the Bengals' defense is not that bad.
Right.
It's pretty good.
Well,
so
this season it's bad. This season's very, very bad.
yeah.
But I'll say this. They already scored 30 points against the Raiders. They won 31-17, which is a similar score than you just said.
Yeah.
And you look down the line, 19 points, 17 points, 27 against New England, 14 points. Wasn't that great? And even before then, they scored 30.
They've had a hard time in the second half.
Second half
You
has
know?
been rough for them.
The first half they
Definitely.
played okay, and the second half they haven't been able to score much. I've said this every week. I think on every show, the Chiefs need to fix their wide receiver core. They've got problems there, and there's nothing they can do about it now. But and the other teams know it. They take Kelce out of the game. They double team him, and they know beat us with your outside receivers. And those guys either drop the ball, tap it up in the air so it's intercepted. They're offsides on big plays. It's like they drop all kinds of passes. They're just a poor group. They're going to have to fix that next year.
Yeah. The receiving core is an issue that you can't solve right now. And you can keep saying, oh, we have trust in the receivers. I wouldn't. I know you're supposed to say that, but Kadarius Toney's got basically butter for hands. Can't catch anything. And when he does, he doesn't just drop it on the floor. He tips it up. He drops it up right into the hands of a waiting whoever defender for whatever team.
Yeah, they should concentrate on the
if you're gonna drop
on the run with Pacheco,
right?
And the short passing game, the screen passes and things to Pacheco and the other running back there.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah, Helaire, and try to get it to Kelce once in a while, and stay away from those wideouts. They're in trouble.
Well, the problem is that you've mentioned this on Tuesday. What teams are basically doing now, or trying their best to do, is we'll let the wide receivers beat us. Travis Kelce's the one that I could actually make the big time play. We're just going to double him all the time. Because we know Mahomes looks very uncomfortable this season. The 2 tackles, Taylor and Smith, they're not holding up properly. Look at Orlando Brown Jr. Wouldn't the Chiefs love to have him on their team again?
Yeah. Well, I'd just say this. The Chiefs are the defending Super Bowl champions.
True.
They're going to be in the playoffs. I think they probably can win their first playoff game. And it gets a lot harder for them, and they're not the same team they were last year. So I don't think they're going to make the Super Bowl. I think they're going to win this game on Sunday, and I think they will probably win their last game, and they'll go in to the playoffs on an upswing. But it's going to be very hard for them this year, and I don't think they're going to make it to the Super Bowl.
This looks nowhere near like a Super Bowl team. Mahomes is having a bad year. Pacheco looks interesting. Kelce is nowhere near as dominant as he once was. Could there be injury? You mentioned retirement, that he's never thought of retirement more than he has this
Taylor
season.
Swift, right? I mean,
he can retire, and he also has a podcast, a very popular podcast.
She's loaded
too.
with money, you know.
Yeah, I don't think he needs it though. He plays in the NFL. You're making hundreds of millions of dollars if you stay
I don't
long.
know if he's making hundreds of millions, but he's probably
well,
got.
he's on every 10 seconds on the
50 or 60 million, but she's got like what 400 or 500 million. I think
it's more than that. She might be near $1 billion. Actually,
near $1 billion.
Well, even then, you see Travis Kelce on damn near every commercial now. Every 10 seconds, every commercial run, it's Travis Kelce, it's Mahomes.
I don't think he retires.
State
at the
Farm,
end of the year.
it's whatever.
I don't think he retires.
I think there is a chance. This is the same age Gronk is, which is surprising if you think about it. Gronk and him are the exact same age. One's playing, one's not. And Gronk had more significant injuries than Kelce did. So there we go. We're going to take a break now, but coming up, we make our Week 17 picks, the regular season. There's 2 weeks left. 2 weeks left. And also, We had a positive week in the Harvey. It did not look good to start the week. A lot of teams losing. A lot of scores were different. We'll talk about that right after this.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. Your never thought you'd get this far podcast. And watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the comment.
Drop the episode anywhere people listen. And find out who they're cooking with. Where they're finding inner balance. And why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. Good to have you in on a Friday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic. It is time for the Week 17 picks. For those who have been around a long time, or if you're brand new or a recent newcomer, every single week of the NFL season, we pick every single game, point spread, who's going to win. So let's begin with my picks. So let's start. So last night's game, I did indeed pick the Cleveland Browns to win and cover the point spread. I just thought Joe Flacco, with the way he's been playing, this should be light work. You have Trevor Siemian starting as your starting quarterback for the New York Jets. Not a great job. A lot of turnovers, fumbles, interceptions. The defense playing great. Joe Flacco sending deep balls. Go for the Cleveland Browns. They take the win and clinch the second playoff spot in 20 years. The other one was Baker Mayfield. I just want to point that out there because, you know what? I'm starting to turn the corner again on appreciating Baker Mayfield. So the next one, the Lions at the Cowboys. Lions and Cowboys. I'll take the Cowboys to win here, but the Lions to cover the point spread. There's one thing that the Cowboys recently have been exposed, especially against the Bills, and that's running teams can do a number on you. Take a look at the Dolphins game. They could run pretty effectively. Raheem Mostert had an okay game against the Cowboys. Not great. The number-wise, it wasn't that great, but it's just the effective runs, the impact runs. The Bills, on the other hand, ran for 266 yards against the Dallas Cowboys. And who is one of the best running teams in the NFL? The Detroit Lions. So I'll take the Lions to cover the point spread, but I do think the Cowboys end up kicking a game-winning field goal to win the game. So that's why I have the Cowboys winning, the Lions covering the point spread. The next one, Dolphins at Ravens. I say the Ravens keep on the high streak and beat the Miami Dolphins. This is a 3.5 point spread, which is pretty massive for two pretty good teams, one that leads the AFC and the other one that's right behind them in the AFC, the Miami Dolphins. So the Ravens just came off of a massive and emotional win against the San Francisco 49ers. And at least last season, if you play the 49ers, the next week, you'll lose. In this case, I think the Ravens keep up the momentum. Lamar's having an MVP-type performance. The numbers don't say it, but if we take a look at the actual three words, most valuable player. He's the leading rusher, leading thrower, and if he really wanted to, he could probably be the leading receiver if he really could. But I think that's damn near impossible. So I'll take the Ravens to cover and win here. I just think this team keeps on the high streak and rides all the way, all that momentum, it rides directly into the playoffs. The next one, the Raiders at the Colts. Colts favored by 3.5, and I'm going to take it through and through. Gardner Minshew having a surprisingly great season. Michael Pittman comes back, and I just think that this offense of the Raiders, while it's not great and had a crazy win last week, I say Gardner Minshew tones down the mistakes that the Chiefs couldn't last week. I'll take the Colts to win and cover the 3.5 point spread. The next one is the Falcons at the Bears. A lot of people, a lot of the smart analysts that are betting these games and calling these games are saying that the Falcons should be the pick here. I think it's the opposite. I'll take the Chicago Bears to win here. I think Justin Fields has grown a lot. The players are backing him up. The coaches are backing him up a lot. After a lot of reports and a lot of mock drafts are saying the Bears are going to go out and draft Caleb Williams. I'm saying Justin Fields has earned the job at least for the next season or two. I think he continues his growing streak here. He's been playing pretty well the past couple weeks. He needs to tone down on the fumbles and the turnovers. I think the Falcons right now, Arthur Smith is basically playing for his coaching job. I think Taylor Heineke's the starting quarterback. He made the magic work, but what we see in the pattern is if you put all the weight onto Taylor Heineke and say the job is yours, the magic dissipates. It's only when you say, hey, for this one game, we need you, that the magic is there. I say the magic dies against the Chicago Bears. I'll take the Bears to win and cover the 2.5 point spread. The next one, the Panthers and the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence out. CJ Beathard will be in. Bryce Young had a great game, but I'm saying this year is weird. I'm going to take the Jaguars to actually win and cover the point spread here. I don't love this pick, but I just think this is such a weird year, and I just think they're going to focus on running the football. Give it to Etienne. Give it to these running backs to make them make the plays. Don't put the ball into the hands of C.J. Beathard to make the mistake. And I think points are going to be at a premium here. I could definitely see this being like a 10-7 game or even like a 14-6 game, something like that. But I will take the Jaguars to cover and win the game against the Panthers. The next one, the Patriots and the Bills. We talked about this earlier. I'll take the Patriots to cover, but the Bills to win. Because Bailey Zappe's the quarterback, and what I saw last week was the Patriots scored 20 points in a singular quarter. That's why I think some sort of tides will shift here, but I do not think that Bailey Zappi can replicate what Mac Jones did and play damn near perfect in order for them to upset the Buffalo Bills. And that's why I have the Bills winning, but the Patriots do cover a 14-point spread. The next one, that the Titans at the Texans, C.J. Stroud's comeback game, and I'll take him to win here. We saw last week, Will Levis, by the way, he's expected to play after coming off of an injury. I don't think it'll matter. I think with C.J. Stroud out there, I think the offense will look much better without Case Keenum. I think they'll be much smarter with the football. C.J. Stroud going for Rookie of the Year. I will take the Texans to win. And sort of, I don't know. The Titans are a bad team. Offensive line's abysmal. I think the Texans are getting done. Will Anderson's also banged up. Nico Collins banged up. Tank Dell out for the year. It's unfortunate what has happened to such a promising young team. But I think with C.J. Stroud, what I saw this season, I think he can get it done. I'll take the Texans to win and cover the minus 4.5-point spread. The next one is the Rams at the Giants. This one I talked about earlier on in the show with Phil, and I said, I don't love the fact that I'm picking the Rams to cover the point spread because you have Tyrod Taylor who doesn't make a crucial mistake. But just because Matt Stafford, Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, these players are healthy, playing well. They're on a heater. They're on the upswing. I'll take the Rams to continue their dominance here and win and cover the 5.5-point spread. The next one, Saints at Bucks. I will take Bucks and Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield to beat the Saints. Baker Mayfield's been great. There's really no other way to put it. I can't really, do I love some of his, turnovers and interceptions? No, but that would be nitpicking. Baker Mayfield has played very, very well this season. So I'm going to take just the fact that they're playing so well recently. Baker Mayfield nearly threw over 400 yards recently. He's the only quarterback in Lambeau Field history to put up a perfect passer rating. I'll take the Tampa Bay Bucks to literally drive their way straight to the playoffs. I believe they clinch with a win over the Saints, and they do that. They cover the 2.5-point spread. If this was 3, I'd be interested, or 3.5, but instead it's 2.5. Which is perfect for me because they win by a field goal and I'd still cover. The next one, Cardinals at Eagles. Hollywood Brown's out for the season. He just got put on IR. I think the Eagles need a strong comeback from their season. They don't need a comeback win because they haven't played yet, but they need to create some sort of momentum. The offense looks off. The defense, as we've talked about before, has been abysmal. So they need some sort of dominant victory. They're 11.5-point favorites this week. I say they win by more than 11.5. I just think they need this huge victory, gain some confidence, gain some morale, and they do that against a very, very poor Kyler Murray-led offense of the Arizona Cardinals. The next one, the 49ers at the Commanders. This is a very, very similar thing. Teams that get embarrassed, really good teams that get embarrassed one week, the following week, they come back pretty strong. And we're going to see it this week against the Commanders. Now, I would pick the Commanders to actually cover the point spread, but today, Jacoby Brissett was actually on the injury report for a hamstring injury that he suffered in practice. I don't love that. If he was perfectly healthy and good to go, I may actually have the Commanders covering this point spread, but because Brissett won't be 100% healthy and Sam Howell might be out there again, and he went, 9 of something? He was horrible, and then Jacoby Brissett actually needed to come back, and he nearly beat the Jets. I will take the 49ers to cover the 14-point spread and win on the road. The next one, Steelers at Seahawks. Mason Rudolph making another start. I'll take Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks to win and cover a minus 3.5-point spread. They need, if they're going to stay in the playoffs, if they're going to potentially win a game, I don't expect it, but if they want to win a playoff game, Geno Smith needs to sort of go back to what he used to be last season of conservative, really, making the big-time play when he needs to, when he has to, and performing very well and being efficient. He hasn't been that efficient this season. Drew Lock, he came in, had a beautiful late drive against the Eagles, but I just think that this Seattle team needs to get some sort of, continuity. And whether or not it's in the defense stepping up, if it's in the offensive line, in the run game stepping up, I could see the running game. Kenneth Walker, I think he could have a phenomenal game against the Steelers. The Steelers are not a very good team. I think Mason Rudolph got lucky in a couple of his touchdowns there, so I will take the Seahawks to win and cover the minus 3.5-point spread. The next one, Bengals at Chiefs. I'm taking the upset here. I think while people are going to assume Jake Browning fell right back down to earth, I'm going with I don't care. I think somehow just because the Chiefs are playing so poorly this season, wide receiver core has been bad, offensive line can't hold up against a decent pass rush. The defense right now is sputtering a little bit. It's not as dominant as it once was, especially earlier on in the season because people are tired, people are banged up. Jamar Chase is even yapping at this point. I'm going to take a surprising upset. I'll take the Bengals to win and cover. It's a minus 6.5 point spread for the Chiefs. I'll take the Bengals to win outright, which covers that plus 6.5 point spread. The next one, Chargers at Broncos. Jarrett Stidham's first game with the Broncos as a starting quarterback after Russell Wilson got benched. And I say it's going to be a big victory there. Easton Stick is the quarterback of the Chargers. And while he almost beat the Bills last week without Keenan Allen, I think it's going to be slightly different when it comes to the Broncos. Sean Payton, I think he's going to be fired up. I think Jarrett Stidham's going to make... We saw him last season. When Derek Carr, that first game, Derek Carr got benched, Jarrett Stidham came in and went toe-to-toe with the 49ers. And that was on Brock Purdy's long streak. So I think a similar thing could happen where Jarrett Stidham comes in. He performs pretty well and dominates against the Chargers, who have one of the worst passing defenses in the NFL. And the last game, Sunday Night Football. There is no Monday night game. Sunday Night Football, Packers at Vikings. I'm surprised with Jaron Hall, a third-string quarterback. He's starting against the Vikings, and the Vikings actually gain a half point on the point spread? What? I'm more than happy to pick the Packers in a complete upset here. Jordan Love, this team looks pretty good so far. At least in the back half of the season, he's playing much better. This one for me is easy. I think the Packers are going to win here. Somehow, like I said, Jaron Hall is the starting quarterback, and the Vikings gain a half point on the point spread. It was -1, and today moved to -1.5. I say it's light work. I'll take the Packers to upset the Vikings. I just think Jordan Love and the offense can get it done. Those are my Week 17 picks. Let's see what you think of Week 17 so far.
Okay, so I won the first one. The Browns beat the Jets. That was anticipated. Joe Flacco got his revenge on the Jets. Told them, you know what, you should have hung on to me. You would have been in a lot better shape than you are right now. And I think they would be a playoff team, fighting for a playoff spot if they'd hung on to Joe Flacco, and he stepped in when Aaron Rodgers got hurt. The Cowboys against the Lions. I think the Cowboys win this game. I think they're smarting from losing to the Dolphins last week in a very close game. Dak Prescott plays very well at home. The Cowboys are undefeated at home. So I think they beat the Lions. And the Lions, as I said all year, I don't trust them. They're not favored in this game, and I think rightfully so. I think the Cowboys are going to find a way to win. The Ravens against the Dolphins. I think the Ravens win this game. I think every player on the field, the Ravens have a better player except for the wide receiver one, which Tyreek Hill is a light year ahead of most any other receiver out there. But on every other position, I think the Ravens have the better player. They have a great defense. They've got Lamar Jackson, who's going to be the MVP this year. I think they're going to beat the Dolphins at home. And the Colts and the Raiders. What's happened to Gardner Minshew? He was playing great. He was looking like, like Doug Flutie out there running around and making plays.
Told you it was the Taylor Heineke black magic.
Yeah, something like that. And I was high on him. And then they lost a couple of games right after I started thinking, wow, Gardner Minshew's going to take him to playoffs. They're still fighting for that playoff spot. They're the last seed right now. And I think they're going to find a way to win this game. And maybe Gardner will come back and have a really good game. That's what I'm thinking. But the Raiders, they're still hanging around too, right? They still have a chance. So, and Antonio Pierce, he wants to be the coach going forward. I think if he wins this game, then and the last one finds a way to get into the playoffs, I'm sure they'll keep him and not make the mistake they made a couple of years ago when they what was the guy's name? Rich Pisaccio?
Rich Pisaccio.
Yeah, they should have hung on to him then. Look what happened when they picked Josh McDaniel to lead them. They wound up firing him. So I find that I think the Colts will win and cover. The Bears, I look for them to win against the Falcons. The Falcons, as you say, Heineke, he's good when you call on him unexpectedly. Well, now it's he won last week when they called on him unexpectedly. Now he's expected to win, And I agree with you. I don't think they're going to win. I think the Bears, they played better in the last half of the season here. And Justin Fields has looked pretty good. They're going to have a great draft pick here of the Bears. It'll be interesting to see who they take. I don't think they should take a quarterback. I think Justin Fields deserves another chance to be the number one next year for them. The Panthers against the Jaguars. I'm picking the Jaguars to win, but the Panthers to cover. I think the Jaguars are kind of falling apart a little bit, but the Panthers are terrible. And maybe Bryce Young is starting to find his legs a little bit and play a little better. He's looked a little better the last couple of weeks, but I still think the Jaguars will find a way to win at home. They need that win badly. The Bills against the Patriots. I'm picking the Bills, but I'm picking the Patriots to cover. I'm looking for maybe the Patriots to find a way to upset the Bills. I think if they did and Bailey Zappi had a good game, well, then that's definitely the end of Mac Jones. And I think Bailey Zappi will have a chance to fight for the starting job next year. I'm not sure what the Patriots will do. My thought would be if they could get one of those top three quarterbacks that are there, then maybe they should pick one. But I do think they should go out and get another quarterback. And I think there'll be several available. Russell Wilson will be available. Jimmy G will be available. If you could pick them up cheap, then I think they might look in that direction too. And I don't think they should fire Bill Belichick, as I said earlier in the show. The Texans against the Titans. I like the Texans with C.J. Stroud coming back. I look for them to cover. The Rams against the Giants. I'm sorry they benched Tommy Cutlets. I like the story, and I think that they should have given him another chance. He may get in there anyway. Tyrod Taylor can't stay healthy. Usually he winds up getting hurt. So I think that maybe Tommy gets in there before the end of the season because Tyrod can't stay on the field. And maybe he gets in there anyway because the Rams, I think, are going to beat the Giants pretty handily. Sean McVay doing a good job this year. Got the Rams back in the playoff contention. They've got a playoff spot right now. I think they'll beat the Giants and cover the point spread. The Saints against the Bucs. This is Baker Mayfield's comeback year. He's looked really good this year. They love him down there. The players love him. The Bulls can't say enough good things about him. I think they'll find a way to beat the Saints. I think they're going to be a playoff team and win their division. So whether they can win a playoff game or not remains to be seen, but I think they will be in the playoffs, and I think they will win this game, cover the point spread. Eagles against the Cardinals. I don't know. I think maybe Kyler Murray is another quarterback that will be out there on the market. He came back. They haven't won a game, have they? I don't think. Maybe one. But did he win one game?
Kyler Murray this season, I'll look at it for you right now. Kyler Murray is 2-4 this season.
2-4.
62% completion percentage, 1,300 yards, 6 TDs, 4 interceptions.
Yeah, well, he hasn't been the spark that really turned the Cardinals around. So I don't know. Maybe they'll be looking to draft a quarterback too, and look to get off him. So he might be available out there too. The Eagles, too much for the Cardinals. I think they even cover that 11.5 point spread. And San Francisco against Washington. San Francisco going to bounce back here. Brock Purdy will bounce back. Washington, not a very good team. Sam Howell probably going to be back in there if Jacoby Brissett, his hamstring is bad there. I think the San Francisco covers. I think Brock Purdy bounces back and has a good game. Seahawks and the Steelers. This is a close one, I think. The Steelers with Mason Rudolph looked like a different team on offense. My God, he lit it up there for them. And the Steelers have weapons on offense. It's just the quarterback has been an issue. So if Mason Rudolph can have a game like he had last week, then I think the Seahawks are in trouble here and they might lose. But I think Geno Smith is going to find a way to get the Seahawks in the win column here, and the Seahawks have the advantage of having the fans there, which are unbelievably loud and disrupt the other team's offense. So I think the Seahawks win and cover. Kansas City against the Bengals, I differ with you on this one. I think the Chiefs find a way to bounce back from some of their poor play here. Mahomes is still one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He can make things happen when there's doesn't seem like there's anything there. I think if he can keep the turnovers down and the defense plays well, I just think that Jake Browning is not an NFL starter, and he proved it last week with the poor decision-making and the turnovers he made. Okay, the Broncos and the Chargers. I like the Broncos to win this game just because the Chargers are all banged up. Easton Stick at quarterback. Keenan Allen on the bench or out with an injury. The defense had not played well at all, despite all the big names they have, and their coach being fired. I think that the Broncos find a way to win this game and cover. And finally, the Vikings against the Packers. I made a mistake here, Nate. I want to switch this one. I want Green Bay.
It?
Yeah,
you want Green Bay?
I picked the wrong one, or you wrote it down wrong.
No. You circled Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Green Bay.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think the Vikings are going to win with whoever they've got playing quarterback.
Jaron Hall.
I've never heard of him.
He was supposed to be the guy that replaced Josh Dobbs. He got hurt trying to run to the end zone. That's why Josh Dobbs came in and then performed.
Well, Nick Mullins, he could throw enough interceptions when he's out there. 4
interceptions, but he threw 411 yards.
Yeah. He may wind up back in the game there before that one's over. But Green Bay still has a shot at making the playoffs, don't they?
Yeah. Currently, as of right now, they're tied with Minnesota. They would need the Rams, Seahawks to lose. They would need to win out most likely. It's hard. They're not eliminated from the playoffs yet.
Then this is a really important game for both teams. The Vikings are at home. I think the Packers find a way to win.
All right, there we go. So those are your Week 17 picks. Now it's time. I'm having a pretty good season when it comes to my Harvey Hot End. And for those who don't know, if you're a newcomer, Harvey Hot End is why I pick 5 teams that if you are sports betting, that you should bet on, in my opinion. This season, I'm having a great season. I'm 61.25% winning percentage. That's pretty good. We went 3-1-1 last week, which is pretty good because overall my point spread last week was not pretty. However, I picked some pretty good games. So let's begin with the first pick of the Week 17 Harvey Hot Hand, which is
Lions at Cowboys.
Lions and Cowboys. I think this is a very, very interesting game. And I normally stay away from these big emotional type of games, at least recently, because it could go either way. The teams are either close, whatever the case may be. This time, I feel really confident about it because we saw in the past 2 weeks, the Cowboys getting a little bit exposed on defense. What is that exposure? That's running the football. The Bills had 266 rushing yards against the Cowboys, and the Dolphins used the running game to set up the pass. I think something similar could happen in this game, whether it be Jared Goff handing the ball off to Jahmyr Gibbs, explosive run, then you play action to Amon-Ra St. Brown or Sam Laporta or whoever you may choose. There's a lot of weapons on that Lions offense, but I do think this game is close because of that reason. The Cowboys, they're at home. They average basically 40 points a game when they're at home. The running defense is going to be very, very difficult because Dak's going to throw it a lot. And normally when he throws a lot, it doesn't look good. Just because. The Cowboys offensively at home score nearly 40 points. I think they take a little bit of a dip because we have to rely more on Dak. I'll take the Lions to cover the 5.5 point spread, but the Cowboys win 28-24.
Packers at Vikings.
This one, I don't understand how the hell the Vikings are 1.5 point favorites. They were 1 point favorites before we knew that Nick Mullins was benched in favor of Jaron Hall, and so much so that the Vikings gained a 0.5 point in the point spread for Jaron Hall, who the first time he played a game got hurt trying to run to the end zone. I don't like this whatsoever. I think this is probably my easiest pick of the week. I will take the Packers to win this game in an upset. Don't understand why. Jordan Love, the defense is spotty. I'll give him that when it comes to the Packers. The defense is definitely underperforming this season. Jair Alexander is suspended for this game. I guess that could be why. I'm not entirely sure. But I will take Jordan Love to show some love and be able to upset the Vikings. I'll take the Packers to win 23-20.
Saints at Buccaneers.
This one, I got to give some love to Baker. He's played phenomenally this season, and right now he has the Bucs in the first place in the NFC South with an 8-7 record. He's playing great this season. He's having near career highs in basically every statistical category. This is his comeback season. He's playing for a long-term contract. I think if they get Mike Evans back in the offseason, I think this team could go back to the playoffs consistently with Baker Mayfield as their quarterback. That being said, this is the latest hurdle Baker Mayfield needs to get through. Because if they lose this game, we'll have the Saints and the Bucs both at 8-8. And then it comes down to probably the last game. Whoever wins probably takes it, or there'll need to be a tiebreaker if both teams win or lose. So I'll take the Bucs to win here. I believe in Baker Mayfield again. He's brought me back on board slightly. I don't think he's a top-tier talent, but is he good enough to win in a crappy division like the NFC South? He's already showed us, yeah, he can. I'll take the Bucs to win and cover the minus 2.5 point spread. They win 31-26.
Rams at Giants.
This one I don't feel great about just because I think Tyrod Taylor is better than I think what people think. So in this offense, we already saw that he had an opportunity to win 2 very, very close games. Except if it wasn't for calls or whatever the case may be, drops. He nearly beat the Bills. If it wasn't for a phantom non-holding call on Darren Waller in the end zone, they probably would have beaten the Bills. But I just think Tyrod Taylor, being an expertised veteran quarterback, I think he doesn't make that crucial mistake. Will he make a mistake here or there? Yeah. But when it comes down to it, he's a smart quarterback. That being said, that's why I don't feel good about this pick. But why I'm picking the Rams to cover a 5.5 point spread is just because the team is healthy. They're on extreme heater right now. They are a tremendous team so far. I think the over-under win-loss was like 5 games. I even said, we talked about when we made our schedules, or when we made our standings predictions, that's way too low for a team that won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They had a down year with no offensive line. You don't think that could be picked up? Well, it did. They got Puka Nacua, and no one thought Puka Nacua would be who he is today. Cooper Kupp's back healthy. Kyron Williams is having a tremendous season so far. I'll take the Rams to win and cover 5.5 point spread. They win 27-17. And the last pick of the Week 17 Harvey Hot Hand picks.
Falcons at Bears.
This one, a lot of people have the Falcons winning. I don't. I say the Bears win, and narrowly. They barely cover this point spread. I just think Justin Fields, he's playing for his future in Chicago. The head coach, Matt Eberflus, he's got his defense playing much better recently. But Justin Fields with the turnovers, I don't love it. Now, we saw Taylor Heineke last week put on a tremendous performance against the Colts, who with Gardner Minshew have been playing surprisingly well, so much so they are in the playoffs currently. This time, I think if you give the reins to Taylor Heineke, you give him the job, basically, and say, it's your team now, I think that's where he actually falls apart. So that's why I think Taylor Heineke will have a step back, a half step back, or maybe a full step back or two. I will take Justin Fields to come up big. He's growing right now. Coaches and players have said his growth this year has been phenomenal for him. I'll take Justin Fields to cover the point spread, which is minus 2.5, and win 23-20. Those are my Harvey Hot Hand picks. I want to know, as always, at least for the past couple weeks I've been doing this, what do you think of my Week 17 betting picks?
Very interesting. You've had pretty good success this year, over 60% correct picks. So, I think you'll probably win some of those games. And
some of them.
Yeah.
What do you expect my record to be?
Winning all 5 of them is hard to do.
I did that for the first time this season.
I think just zip them back up there quickly.
Sure, I'll try my best. Here we go. So that let's go with the first one. So
yeah, the first one I'm not so sure there. I think the Cowboys might wipe out the Lions.
Okay, and then the next one is the Packers and the Vikings.
I think that's going to be a very close game. They're both fighting for the playoffs. I think that the Packers win just because the Vikings don't have a quarterback.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I don't know why they're favored. I agree with you. I don't know why they were favored by 1.5. Whoops! Wait. Go back to the.
You want the next one?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Okay.
Saints, Bucs.
So I think you're right on this one.
Do you feel confident in this one? This one I
think you're right on too.
I don't feel good about this one.
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor could pull someone out of a hat that we didn't.
He'll probably
even
get hurt.
Maybe
he gets hurt.
He's
in every
prone
game.
to do that.
I think that Sean McVay has the Rams playing well.
Absolutely.
And they have some great wide receivers there.
Yeah.
And Stafford's been playing well this year. So the defense has rebounded a little bit. They're a playoff team. I think they're going to find a way to win that game.
And then my final one, which was, there you go, Falcons-Bears.
Yeah, that one's going to be close, and you've got it as close as it can be there to cover the point spread. So, yeah, Taylor Heineke. Taylor Heineke. It'd be interesting to see how he plays. If he continues how he played last week, then the Bears are in trouble. If Justin Fields can hang on to the ball and not throw interceptions, then I think the Bears will win.
So there we go. So that does wrap up the longest episode of the Harvey Hour we've had to date, and we're actually right on time for the normal ending of the show normally. About an hour in.
A little over.
A little over, but yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. If you watched the whole thing, I appreciate it greatly. We appreciate it greatly.
When are we going to talk about the...
oh, right. You just reminded me.
Playoffs,
right, so the college football playoff is on New Year's Day, I believe. So we made these picks before. I think we did them... I forget if we did the entire thing, if we just did them by one game to one game. So we'll do it one game to one game. So the first matchup would be the number 1 seed of Michigan playing number 4 seed Alabama. Alabama just beat Georgia. Michigan, Jim Harbaugh, he could be suspended this next season. He's trying to get that big contract. However, I believe they were undefeated when Jim Harbaugh was not the head coach with them during the season. So I want to know, and I believe Michigan's only 1.5 point favorites as well in this game. I want to know, who do you have winning?
Whoever wins this game, I think, wins the championship.
So you're saying this is really the championship
I think
game,
this is
basically?
really the championship.
Okay.
And Michigan is a 1.5 point favorite.
I'm looking up right now. When I saw it yesterday or the day before, they were 1.5 point favorites against.
I'm picking Alabama to upset them.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going Jim Harbaugh. Although I don't think J.J. McCarthy is, we're talking Caleb Williams. He's not on that talent. I think it's more systematic. I just think Jim Harbaugh has a great system this season, and I think it's worked. It's worked so much so when he wasn't.
He got suspended.
Well, when he wasn't the head coach, they were still winning games.
Yeah.
So the system in place works. I find it crazy how they're only 1.5 point favorites. I'll take Michigan to win and cover the point spread. Then, by the way, a lot of these people, these CBS, they have Alabama straight up. One person here, David Cobb on the CBS, has Michigan winning.
Yeah.
The other 6 of them or 7 of them have Alabama upsetting them. The next one, Washington, Texas. Texas, the 3 seed. Well, they're favored, apparently, by 4 points, even though they are the 3 seed. Washington's the number 2 seed. Michael Penix, starting quarterback here. I believe Quinn Ewers is started for Texas. Who do you think takes home the Sugar Bowl this season?
I'm taking Texas in this game.
You're saying the favorite Texas?
Yeah, I'm looking for Alabama, Texas in the final.
Don't say your pick yet. We'll do that afterwards.
I can't do that now.
I want to spoil. Well, I mean, you already said Alabama wins, right? Because you said
that's what I'm. Well, but I like the revenge aspect of Alabama having another shot at Texas.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna agree with you with Texas.
Yeah.
Washington, that last game they played, it was too close for me against Oregon. While Oregon's a great team, too close for me. I'll take Texas to win here.
Okay.
And then since you already said your final pick, I'm going to agree with you. I think that the Rose Bowl this season is probably going to be whoever wins the national championship. So I picked Michigan to win. I say Michigan beats Texas, and they are crowned the champions of college football for the 2023
That'll be
season.
big for Harbaugh. He's never won a college championship.
And it'd be massive just for Michigan in general.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's our college football prediction. Look, we threw some college football in, and I think... Well, we talked about it last year, TCU. We talked some college football last season, so we'll talk about these games. It's on the 1st, which is the Monday, so we'll talk about it Tuesday. We have a lot to talk about on Tuesday as well. The new year as well around the corner, so the next
NFL's we're almost to the playoffs.
We have this week and next week, and then we're
very
done.
interesting. A lot of parity in the NFL this year.
Yeah.
So the playoffs are going to be really interesting this year.
Yeah. So for this episode of the Harvey Hour, we thank you for watching
we thank you for subsubscribing, too.
Yeah, the growth has been incredible.
A lot of subscribers lately. It's been really good. We appreciate the support.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, we a lot of, like I said, a lot of things going to be changing. So the stuff you saw in this episode could be repeating down the line as well. So if you enjoyed it, hit the like button. If you want to, you can subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we upload a video. And also, if you're listening to this, if you want to see the video version, you can go over to youtube.com/the Harvey Hour. Or if you want to take this show on the go with you, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast, this show will be on. So if you missed anything, go check it out over there. But for this episode of the Harvey Hour, have a happy the rest of your 2023.
Happy New Year.
We will see you January 2nd on Tuesday in 2024. Yeah. We will see you then. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you Tuesday.
Good night, Grandpa.
You Losing Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.